all about that. Start recording as well.
Well, you can ask those guys on the stream what it looks like and sounds like.
Yeah, but like, what you guys do? I'm doing some things, you know.
They can feed back to you and tell you're a dickhead and it looks like a pile of shit.
Hello, welcome to honest-wargamer. I'm your host, Rob.
And it sounds like crap as well.
You should sound fine. So yes, I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to Monday's Age of Sigmar show. Obviously, you guys can see we're not in our usual location. We're on the road now, I think, forever and ever. But we're joined by, obviously, Mr. Nathan Prescott.
Hello, hello.
Hello, and we're joined by the new rising star of all Age of Sigmar coverage around the world, unsupervised Dan.
Dan unsupervised.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. I've been left to unsupervised for too long, so this is probably a good thing. G'day.
So, hello everyone. I hope you're, we'll just wait for everyone to get into the, what we have to do is we'll have to wait for some people to get into the Twitch chat.
Because they take their time.
We've got to wait for the notifications. Some people are watching on YouTube, and thanks to those guys. Some people are watching on Facebook, and if you give it a love heart and a share, that's great. Also, the laughy face is a great emoji.
It's better than a poo one.
But it's also good to put on sad statuses on Facebook. Someone's like, I feel bad, and the laughy emoji. And they're like, what do you mean by this?
that's like, my mother was one of the mums that used to think, have you seen, like, some people didn't think that LOL was laugh out loud. Yeah. They thought it was lots of love. So, like, someone would be like, oh, blah, blah, died. And they'd be like, oh, lol to their family. And it's just like, oh, fuck. And so, like, it was after a while, like, I dropped her a message and I was like, Mum, you can't say that to them. And she was like, why not? You know, is it rude to use the shorthand? I was like, Mum, what? Like, it means laugh out loud. And she was just like, then my phone rang. And she was like, how do I delete them? I have put it on so many things.
That is very sweet.
She just wanted to send love, but it'd be like, you know, like, these orangutans' forest has been destroyed, blah, blah, blah. So, lots of love. I'm laughing at all of these awful things. So people think that I've got a black sense of humour, and then they're like, dangerous one.
She's going for all the all the hot spots. Yeah, nice.
So, well, it's lovely to have you here, and also big shout out to Dispossessed Dan Mum, and everyone around the world. Also, someone saying they're getting flashback of Alan's Not Hot Already. We won't talk about that right now. I just want to say, obviously, thank you to everyone on Patreon, and thank you to everyone on, including Bill, who became a Patreon, and at the same time did a Rolling Bad podcast at the same time, about how cool he enjoyed the website and the Workbook. So that's really nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's really
good on you, Bill.
So thank you to everyone. Also, Chuckabutty TV, who was a big star of the weekend, has just subscribed 12 months in a row. Thank you. Ooh. So thanks to him, not only working, but also subscribing.
It sounds like he's trying to suck up to the boss.
Yeah, well, he wrote shit when he subscribed. Which is...
not really sucking up.
What a dick.
Work on that.
But he gives a wonderful cuddle.
Yeah,
I will say. Like,
to everyone he
sees. The best hug I've had. And given how cold I am here, another human's warmth for even 10 seconds was just so amazing. So thank you. I miss you.
Yeah.
Also one of a great dancer, Nick's in the chat. Lofthammer, Doodah Day, LLV, Korg, The Visit, Lofthammer says he's got Tournament Blues. I've kind of got Tournament Blues.
Me too, yeah.
But I've got like painting hype.
Yeah, yep.
But so what we're going to do on the show today, obviously, so we said thank you to everyone on Patreon and Twitch. We're going to talk a little bit more about that earlier. Obviously, Jet's in the house as well, and I think he's just farted.
Yeah, well, don't waft it towards me.
No, it's backhanding it away.
He's looking super guilty as well.
Hi, Joe Cryer. Hi, Chris. Thanks for the amazing photos this weekend from Chris Frostrid. So we'll talk about that in a second. So the three subjects we're going to cover today. And it's amazing having you on the show, Dan, in person.
It's good to be here.
So thank you. Is we're going to talk about Chrimbobo from the weekend and kind of our thoughts and afterthoughts. We're going to talk about the workbook. We're going to talk about the website. Let's talk about those because that's kind of we've done a good week.
Like I've only been here a week and it's been a big week. I'm exhausted. I don't know how you function at this level so long.
We don't. Normally it's a little bit less than the week that we've had. Yeah, loads to cover and loads to talk about, which is good. And I think my voice is going, so I don't know how long we'll be here, but we'll try. I thought I'd saved it today, but nope, it's just done for.
You sound like quite husky and sultry though, not like.
I quite like it when it's at this level, but it's the next.
Yeah, right. It's really good. Yeah, it turns a corner pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
LB says in the chat, by the way, can I say that Dan was amazing watching the coverage back? It's like he's done all his life. Perfect colour man. That's right, he thought you had no tactical insight.
Oh, wow.
But to be fair, there were a few games there where there was no tactical insight.
It's
like,
true.
it was like trying to get inside the minds of madness.
The issue for you is you've either played tactical games because you've been there, or you've been near your friends who are tactical gamers. I had to do at least 6 months of Warhammer Live coverage. Let me tell you, some of those games was 2.5 hours of thought experiment for me. I'd wake up in the morning and go, I wonder what I will talk about when nothing is occurring.
Yeah, when two armies of Space Marines line up 12 inches apart.
Just go,
shoot.
This is how it was back in the day when they all had muskets and they were like...
Okay, now you stand over there and we'll stand over here and we get a turn to shoot you. And no, now it's their turn.
And also, it was
you're too close. Go back.
Everyone back it up now.
It was also lovely to have two amazing commentators like yourselves who understood the game, gave great information from the table, and also were just great fun to talk to. So I need to say thank you to you two. And I think everyone around the world should also say thank you to you for enjoying the experience of game.
My pleasure.
Cheers to you, gents. Cheers. Uncle Pid, thanks for subscribing 4 months in a row. Everyone's saying they're loving Chris Foster's photos as well. And hashtag the boy like Alan. Hi, Angels Mark. So, let's talk about it. Now, obviously, you can just watch the entire weekend, so we don't need to really talk about what happened.
There you go then. Right, so moving on to
Workbook.
Yep.
Done.
All right.
You can watch it back for free either on Twitch or on YouTube.
We're going to get through this one real quick.
I can see his voice is going.
Because I got a flight to get to.
So let's go.
You dodged them Fosters though.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Hashtag I got beat by Speckles, which you now think is his full name.
I assume that I haven't. So I only just realised that Speckles is his name. Because all I've heard is got beat by Speckles or beat by Speckles or something. So I was like, I assumed it was like a long form nickname.
It is his long form nickname. Yeah. Plus, you never want to get that button badge that he's going to make.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
He's making them, and if you get one, and I unfortunately am the proud owner of a hashtag Beat by Speckles button badge.
By Speckles.
The
It's going to be
Kingmaker.
quite a fucking big badge.
Yeah. Like a special birthday badge.
It's going to be like an armoured plate on your chest.
Or no, what you should get is like a brand. You know, like get a little branding on your head. So you have to wear it. It's a mark of shame for the rest of your life.
In fact, you know what? That's a really good point. Also, shout out to big old Scrivo in the chat.
Oh, Scrivo. I miss you. It's only been hours, but I already miss you.
But in honour, Scrivo, of your behaviour this weekend and because of your very serious problem, two things. Number one, we're doing it in a bar. Yeah. Which I think is
a bar which was the scene of the crime as well.
And I would also like to award Scrivo with his 1 day clean badge.
Oh,
well done. Yeah. I mean, that's it's important.
It's a huge step as well.
Exactly. Admitting you've got a problem
1 day at a time.
Okay, but I think actually, Jill, before we talk about it.
Sorry, the best thing is I know the face he's pulling as well. How are you?
He's a hero. Him and Adam, they're not here today to gloat, but those two were brilliant. Chuckles, especially I had loads of tech issues at the beginning of Saturday morning. I got a bit stressed and pissy. I was on about 3 hours sleep. I was not happy. Did not enjoy it. We turned the stream off. I wanted to just start the stream Saturday morning and Saturday night, and I really wanted to be able to run 3 cameras. Impossible with the setup we got, which is really sad. So just went back to our normal system, which is fine. It works. It worked great. I just really wanted the stream to be live for the whole day. I didn't get an opportunity to do that, but Scrivo handled that in his very calm and delectable way. Or it affected him and he drank loads later.
Maybe that's him just inside the kettle.
That guy.
The kettle was just boiling like...
I get so fucking drunk later.
I mean, a lot of these bottles, just looking at the shelf, are quite low. I wonder if that's like pure scribber. Just took to the shelves like with a vengeance.
Dude, I also wanted to know whether or not the bride that was finally made yesterday. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but before we do talk about that, because I think this is exceptional and really fun. We all kind of have had a half day today of work. We're only having to do this evening. That's great. Yeah. So that means that you two got the great pleasure of getting to play Warhammer against each other today.
That's good.
Yeah, both of those lists are available on honest-wargamer.com. Yeah, Nathan?
Yeah, I spent ages typing it up.
Well done. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Chrimbobo.
Oh my God, what's the website address?
Too many websites.
There are too many websites.
Geo website.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. That story is basically...
That's it. You want to be in Korea. It's like, there's 6 websites and they're all the same.
So who won today? Well, how did the game go? Do you want to tell what it's like?
Warhammer was the winner.
But if we want to talk about the real winner, no one was very surprised that the Dispossessed took the goblins by the limbs and then just beat other goblins to death.
Wow, okay, Nathan. How do you feel about that?
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
Would you say, is it because of his shooting, or would you say shooting shooting does?
Shooting is as shooting does. But my mama said, she always said,
the wonderful Scrivo has actually put both of those lists in the chat if you want to check them out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We probably should stop slagging him off then.
He gets 30 days of this.
While he heals.
Yeah.
No, but it was an awesome game. However, the Moon Clan list is just utter chaos. Like, how many endless spells were there at one point?
6.
No, there were 7 on the board at one point.
7. And I'm playing Dispossessed. I can't dispel them once they're there.
That was the best bit. I really enjoyed it.
Like once they went up, they were there to stay. So every priority, it was... Like, it wasn't only just us.
Well, nobody ever took the priority.
No, because every time you gave away, you're like, if I don't move, like, there was one endless spell every turn that was, like, key. So you had to give it away for the key priority. But then you'd be like, I was at one point where I'm like, okay, so either I Emerald Life Swarm to heal up the character, or I take the damage dealing thing and move it away so that he doesn't stab the character. Like, everything was just insane. So yeah, I've never really seen more than 1, maybe 2 on the board at the same time.
Same, really. Yeah. Like, it's actually quite rare. And obviously with Nathan and Dispossessed, being a multicaster, which is obviously excellent, but his inability to cast because of the rules to cast more than 1 and a spell, it's actually quite hard to get that out. Yeah. That's why I am massive about the Fungoid Cave Shame and being 80 points being able to cast 2 spells, a realm spell and an end spell. But Nathan and you are both pretty convinced that the normal Shame with the +2 to cast is the better way to go.
A mix is nice.
Yeah.
So definitely have the Fungoid as a general. I did have a spare Fungoid in there.
Yeah.
And he was quite fun, actually.
Zarbag was alright as well, that extra wound.
Yeah, he's a bit meatier than the others. So obviously wandering around Shadespire. He's just got a bit of more hardcore.
It's probably because he's been killed so many times. Like, he's just got that experience. It's like, here we go.
So much scar tissue all over him.
This death thing again. Here we go. Yeah, right,
I've done this again. Yeah. He was quite good. And then, the Moon Clan Shamans with the Madcup Mushrooms are just great. Yeah. That +2 to cast is really good.
Yeah, you're really solid, really solid. And I think... Dan, you were saying, because I want to play against the list, and potentially in the next couple of weeks, if you're okay with it, play with the list. I think it's a list that is just so different to anything I've seen before. It's maniacal.
Yeah, and what I was saying is I think the strategy in the list is you create absolute chaos all over the board. It's a total, like, shitstorm. And then, because of your experience with the army, you be the only person who can read the chaos.
Yeah. Like, you even learned something today about the pendulum, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you learn. Every time you move one of the fucking things, you learn a new thing. It's like, really?
Yeah, and then when it's like, so it was the greased up goblin, and it moved, and then he pointed the pendulum directly at it.
At the objective.
And so I was like, and like, he had a unit of goblins there, and the only unit I had to capture were either hammerers or iron breakers. It's like, yeah, you can take the objective off me, but you're going to get carved up on the way.
Yeah, I personally, I was riveted. I stayed for the first 3 turns, but then I had to come and put all the gear back. The studio's not fully set up, but it looks pretty fun, right?
Yeah.
And do you think, competitively, Nathan, and then Dan as well, do you think it's got legs in the future?
You probably win about 3 games out of 5, I reckon.
All right.
Yeah.
3 out of 5 in like in an even playing field.
Yeah.
What if you're Alan?
7 out of 5.
Because he rolls well.
Oh man.
That's the power.
Yeah. I don't think he played that badly, actually, personally. Having sat next to it and thought about it a bit more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that.
I know one of the big mistakes that he made, and then he realized it almost straight away. So the fact that he knew that he had made a mistake, like, almost immediately was telling. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, roughly. So.
And like there are certain armies that you can make a mistake against, and you have a chance to pull it back. But against a brutal drop Stormcast list, like you leave them a gap, and there is not much chance to drag it back.
Well, one of the most forgiving armies, though, is comfortably losers and a gash with the capacity to put an entire unit back on the board, of which everyone apart from the gash and the 2 necromancers, the 120 skeletons, were completely. You could replace them all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, but there you go.
Hi, little cutie. Hi, Jack. So thanks everyone for joining us. Really glad you're here. Boy Phil's got a question. Any subscriber performance from us? I feel I've got to answer it. I'm thinking of taking Thunderstorm to Bobo. What sort of wargamer am I? Asked me the knees, but I think it was on a pre-recorded segment. Oh, sorry, Boy Phil. So I think he means in the workbook. What sort of wargamer will I be with? I think you're the model, the collector. You're the guy that you want to take your model, so a hero hammerer, potentially. You like the story and the models that you like.
Thunderscorn are in Beast of Chaos now, so Beast of Chaos.
See, I agree, and I think that's maybe where you start, but there's no reason that can't change. Like, the reason I started with Dispossessed in the very first place is because I've always loved them. Since Warhammer Fantasy, I've loved dwarves, and that became transferred over into my love of Dispossessed. And so that's where it started, and initially I was getting pumped. I was maybe 2 out of 5, that kind of thing. And then I just kept playing them and got better and refined it. So I think that's where you start. Sure, like start with the fact that you love it, and then you play and learn, and you can be going. I reckon any army can go 4 or 5. I think it's rare, but if you play your army enough, you can learn.
Yeah, I think most armies got good matchups. So like that list, if I'm playing against Stormcast or like an elite Sylvaneth army or something like that. That list, the spells list would love anything like that. Or fucking Scryer with their Tunneling dudes. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, right. Have a bloody go. Let's see you pop up when the board is covered in grots.
And then when you do pop up,
pop up, and then a Shaiish Reaper just goes.
It just takes your face off. Do says you look like the Aussie Matt Damon, and also weird that you look like an elf and you love the dwarfs.
That's I look like an elf.
That's from LOV though, so.
He's lucky he's in Canada.
Yeah. Actually, I might be coming to Canada at the start of next year, so I'm going to find you and I will rub my beard on you. I'll grow one just to rub it in your face.
Hi, Pa. I hope you're doing really well.
So how do you spell RIV? Where's my book of grudges?
Go with him.
I don't know who you are, but I will find you and I will grudge you.
Hi, Canhammer TV. Hi, OJ. I will pre-Carl. It's Kajal, but I think that's a Storm, Wolf. Oh my god. The Space Marines and the Space Wolves. It's a special character, but I don't know. Never know how to spell it. CJARL. Jarl.
Jarl?
Thanks for the workbook, he says. He just subscribed on Twitch.
Oh, wicked.
So awesome and immensely helpful.
Yeah.
Well, that's our pleasure. And then,
I think even for experienced gamers, the workbook is awesome because it lets you like take all the things that you kind of know, like they're all floating around there in your brain, unless you define them. You know, like you can actually break it down and go like, oh yeah, sweet. Like I know that my Iron Drakes do this and that, and then you look at it and you're like, well, that actually means that they can be bait, they can be used as bait, they can be a hammer unit, or they can be a bully unit pushing people around the board. Like so, for example, in our game. I deployed a unit of 10 Iron Drakes right in the middle where they'd be in range of like the Squid Gobbler and a lot of things turn 1, and I was just sitting there going like, please shoot them. Please. Like, they're an expensive unit and a great unit. I was like, if you target them, they're leaving like scoring units a lot freer in a way for your damage. So
which is quite useful.
Mm.
Yeah, like for me.
Well, and you can't leave them alone because until you get that one wound on them, they're actually a horrible unit to have just floating around. So you've got to have at least get one wound on them. Otherwise, they're going to really knock holes in you.
Which the other unit continued to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say that for me as a commentator, like I think there were 3 things from this weekend which the workbook helped. I wasn't really what we meant to talk about now, but we might as well because we're there. 3 things that helped me out massively, and one of them got a shout out to Scribbo as well. It's like obviously the website, the workbook, and the terms is all because of the last Bobo. Because the coverage that we did, like me, I walked away from it and I was like, I so want to do more of this, but it needs to be done better. And with that, like with the commentary, I think between the 3 of us, I think we've got some excellent commentary. When John was there, he also did a great job as well. So we've got the tactical insight and then the words to say stuff, which is great.
Just can't get them out of your mouth. You just can't get them out of your mouth.
Yeah, you've got them out of your mouth. I mean, that's a key part. But then realistically, what we didn't have last time was the ability to just grab lists on demand. That was obviously super useful.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that they're just there and in a presentable fashion, people can just click. We didn't have the capacity to have the terms that we understood so that we could have a better language on the table.
Yeah. And as that becomes a more shared language between ourselves and then people watching the streams and stuff like that at home, it just makes everything a lot more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. It also, you know what? So for me, writing the workbook was really a way to express how I was going to talk about the games. Because I didn't, it's not that I didn't know, I just never had another person who was, apart from possibly Eddie and John, Eddie and John Bracken, apart from those 2 people who also had a concept of how the game on the table was working, didn't really ever have a co-host to be able to do something with. That was really my issue. Oh no, I did Rob Craps, it's not Rob knows his shit. But then that meant I needed to write it down because I knew people were watching. And when you know really good gamers are watching and you're on your own back, you're like, right, okay, we need to make this better. So I feel the language in the workbook really helps me as a commentator, and I don't know if you guys agree, but then my follow-up would be that the overlay done by John, where you could consistently see what the map was and what the objectives were, was so vital. And I think John did a really excellent job. Because another thing that happened when we were in Games Workshop in the live stream, one of the things that we got asked to do was people just wanted close-ups of the models. Now, obviously, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People want to see like pretty dollies, but that doesn't in any way add any tactical depth to the game.
No.
It would be great to be able to zoom from the top-down camera to different quadrants to see stuff in more micro.
Like, say, when there's a really important pile-in happening, or when it's measuring to see how many units are scoring an objective. Awesome.
Things like that, excellent. But realistically, the side views and all those are just because people want to see a pretty model.
Yeah. And
you can look on Instagram or Chris Frostwind's photos at any point. So I don't know, did you guys feel hemmed in by only having the top-down or not?
Not really, because I think what you're saying is exactly right. The top-down camera is all you need to see the game.
For the game, definitely.
And if you're playing, like if you're sitting there playing the game, often like it's almost that's the angle I try to get before my turn. Like when you take like in between turns, you're like trying to look around and see things and see all of the different ways that the table looks. I think it's fine. I think, like you say, it'd be really good to be able to zoom on elements, but having the zoom in on models and things like that, that's lovely, but it's not as important. In the same way that, like, dice rolls. Like, there are a handful of really important dice rolls that would be awesome to be able to catch.
We nailed the communication this time from the table.
Yeah.
Right, that was, well...
Sure.
Mostly. Day 1, sure, yeah.
Day 1, sure. Day 2, there was... I mean, how close is the send button to the mute button, mate?
They're right next to each other.
Yeah. Too close.
Too close.
That's very close. And then also... There was... yeah, and also... my aim was not so hot on Sunday either, so there you
go. Just like Scribbo.
You and Scribbo both.
Also, I forgot to mention that when I did do the coverage, there were 2 times I did coverage actually with when I was at Adepticon with Dan Heelan, that was also excellent. Again, a good gamer who did good coverage, so that was great talking with him. Also, when I did with Ross Veal at South Coast GT, he also was an excellent co-commentator, I thought, so I did enjoy those. So I don't want to forget that, because I don't want to think that I'm intentionally leaving them out. Did you mention it?
Personally, I'll be offended if you fail to mention me ever again.
Sinise, thanks for subscribing. Also, hi Rob Ellis, who was nice to me on the internet the other day. And then the ability to draw on the screen, Pete Pratt, would be great. Also, big shout out to Pete, who's been messaging me some feedback and some info. That's super helpful. Yeah, that would be good, but it's very expensive.
Think that when I'm looking at some of the websites I look at.
Yeah.
If I could draw on the screen.
Well, you probably wouldn't have known it, but you can hear it, that during the game that we were commentating, we were drawing on the screen, but that was just on a screen with a Nico. We were just using a pen on Rob's screen, which he was a bit disappointed about the next day. But yeah, no, it's fine.
Just colouring in the bits.
Yeah.
Where'd those chaos dolls go?
Yeah, I can't see them now.
Also, Coloru's made a good point. I think your side section, which said scenario map player names and armies on, it's too large. In his opinion, we could maybe split between the two. That's a really interesting point. We could have kind of just the table in quite large, and then flip between that and one that's that would be actually quite clever. Instead of having it constantly up, you could flip between the two. Actually, that's a really good point. Thank you. No, see, great feedback.
Yeah.
Stuff we can. That's actually really smart and is really easy to do. Just cut between two scenes. That's excellent. Cheers, Coloru.
That would make it easier as well for people who are watching on phones too.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well.
If you're watching on your phone, the last thing, I know that I've got a piece of shit phone, and so the screen is tiny. So being able to get in there and see more actual table would be really awesome.
Yeah, and like you say, the ability to draw on the screen. But if it helps you out, when I set that up for Games Workshop, it took me 3 months and $3,000 to be able to actually make that happen. So, give me $3,000 would be the key.
Yeah, that's it.
But also, that would be the key bit, because that's what the software costs, because it's software called Telestrator. And it's fairly easy to use and get. It's just, but anyway, great work, and thank you to you guys this weekend.
My pleasure.
But that was me trying to talk about the workbook and how it impacted the weekend, because it was quite helpful for me, I found.
Yeah.
What is his name? Stronghammer. Chuck Moore did a lovely review on the website the other day about it as well. On the other website today. So Dan, before we get to talk about the weekend, how did you find, meeting everyone would be the first point. What do you think about the UK Age of Sigmar community and scene?
Super lovely. Just, and it was really awesome. One of the things that I've said to a couple of people is it's so awesome. I haven't met anyone over here before, voice, spoken over voice and stuff like that. But actually meeting, I haven't met anyone. And a lot of people I was meeting for the first time, or maybe I had a couple of conversations on Twitter or something like that. And it's just awesome that we have this shared language. You can meet someone and have not said 2 words to them, but just communicate. We all love war dollies. We're grown adults that just want to push around plastic, yell weird things and roll dice. and we've got that in common. It binds us. Yeah. So everyone I met was like that. And it's just been awesome. I've loved it. I'd love to come back. I'd love some of you guys to come over to Australia, because we've got a ton of events, and you'd be so welcome. It's been great. I loved it.
Yeah, good.
Every second. It's the motherland. It's a good place for war dollies.
It is a good place for war dollies, right?
Yeah.
Apart from some of the games, they were interesting for you to watch.
Look, everything.
Well, you have to watch one with Legion of Asgard.
That was the worst.
Yeah.
But every what is it? It's every experience is just a new opportunity to learn.
Agreed.
And I learnt things. I learnt the amount that my brain can handle before I hemorrhage. And I also I learnt just how survivable certain armies are.
Yeah, really interesting. I'm going to ask you about commentating in a minute, the both of you, because I think it'd be interesting to hear both of you. So I want to just read out some of the chat. And then Chris Frostering was actually doing that at the event. The venue was fantastic. We talk about, in fact, let's touch on it. Let me read it out and then touch on it. Chris Frostering says, I was sitting on my phone while watching on the big screen, because the venue was just covered in giant screens, which was all playing the matches. And I remember we were commentating during Richie and Gary's game 4, and just everyone in the hall was just sat watching.
Yeah, I stopped and looked around, and throughout the whole hall, there was probably 6 or 8 screens, and then the big screen at the front. And everyone was standing there with like a drink in their hand, or like maybe holding some miniatures ready to go to their next game or whatever, and everyone was just staring at the screens, watching it. It was awesome. It was surreal and incredible. And I actually got like chills. I got really excited. I was like, Rob.
People want to do this. I'm like, they're going to want to do it because they're all invested.
Oh yeah,
like that's what's really exciting. Also, Rat 70's donated 100 bits, and then OJ donated 500 bits as a start towards the telestrator. So I appreciate that loads. Thank you. Dudar Day has donated 100 bits. Also, Sanisa said. Feedback, my wife said on day 1, Rob, you look like a well-dressed bartender. And then later on, he said, the bad bartender. And I was like, okay.
Well, people love a bad boy, so. All I can say.
Some more feedback, all capitalised, thank you. Day 1, one of my roommates thought it was a British parliamentary procedures on TV based on it probably won't go the way he wants, or something about some commentary about an unkillable Stormcast versus never-ending death fights, which is interesting.
Is that a thing in your parliament here? Like,
Warhammer. Yeah, that's how we decide.
Never-ending death fights. That's it. It's just all these politicians fighting to the death.
The visit also says if you cover 2 games at once, cut between action. That would also be pretty great. That would also be possible if you had enough cameras. But that's just going to require.
And so 3 cameras shut us down. So
yeah. It's just a networking issue. But some people have been able to have offered to help me out with that. There's loads of options in the future. It's just you got to be all things to all people, right?
Yeah.
Statistician. So tomorrow I have to have a call with LLV and understand very complex maths
to learn mathematics.
Yeah. I mean, I know math.
Why are you sure?
I went to secondary school. I got an A. I feel okay.
And like just one singular.
What in math?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can't earn more.
No, I was like, was it maybe a word? Did they write bad?
Bad.
Yeah, you were bad at math, and you're like, there's an A in there.
Yeah, real special. Yeah, I got it at a special school I was at. So yeah, we'll try to get that at some point. But thank you for the feedback. And any others, will they ever be dancing on this show? Potentially, but not likely.
Not tonight.
Also, Dylan Day's donated 200 bits for the special Deploy Like Alan and the honest-wargamer Workbook. Thanks very much. So, what was your students' experience about being commentators? How did you find it and what did you think of it? Nate, you've done it before.
Yeah. Just the same as it ever was.
But as it ever was that one time you did it last time?
Yeah. Felt the same as that time.
Yeah.
How did it feel that time and this time? Apart from familiar.
No, it was cool. I enjoyed it. I did like the earpiece thing, giving you the information. That was dead good. That was, I really like watching games of Warhammer and having to watch them and analyze them as they go along. That it adds because normally you just watch and you just you're not trying to break stuff down. You're just like watching. Well, at least I don't, because I'm not trying to think all the time. Sometimes
that's too much effort, right?
My dad always said sometimes he likes to sit and think, and sometimes he just likes to sit. So sometimes I just like to sit.
Just like to sit. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, it changes the. Enhances the enjoyment of the game. I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
I thought it was surreal. And I really enjoyed it too because I just love talking about war dogs, and so
were you nervous before like that? Oh yeah, were you nervous, or were you like? Had you done your research? Like, what was it?
I felt like I was about to go on a date. I was worried that people wouldn't like me. I was like, how's my hair? I was like, my palms too sweaty. That's obviously not a thing that I ever worry about.
Can I just say thank you to LLV, who's just donated $50 for Let's Be Able to Draw on the Screen, guys. Wow. And also Brian, joined Patreon this weekend as well. So thanks, LLV. LLV doing all the stats work and donating to the show. So that means
you're going to have to start drawing pretty pictures on screen soon.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
It was definitely...
I can't guarantee I could trust both of you with the capacity to draw on the screen.
Well, just maybe not at the same time.
You would be like, I think that he should possibly go in this direction.
See, I know what you think. You think we're going to draw something inappropriate. We're just going to end up drawing beards all over the screen.
Oh, that guy needs an extra beard.
Yeah. Just, like, what have you done? We've drawn beards on every Deepkin model.
Just so they can get the job done properly.
Beards, some call me. It cuts back to the table of commentators. We're drawing beards on ourselves. Just being like, I could use a big white beard. No, but I was actually, initially, I was really nervous because, I've done a few little bits and pieces like this before, but I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know how people in the chat were going to respond, because sometimes people really love Australians and sometimes people want to ship us back to Australia in chains, which obviously happened once in our history. So I was a little bit nervous, but then once we got into it, like, credit to both of you, you're incredible, and Chrimbobo and Adam and just everyone at the tournament as well was so welcoming. And
John and Johnny really facilitated us, doing everything we needed, right?
They were just absolute legends and hilarious too. Like, it was.
What did you think of Santa and all of that?
Santa, look, I'm not sure I want to be on either of his lists, naughty or nice, to be honest with you.
The best way with John is to be anonymous to John.
But the thing was, like, it's a weird thing where you want to be in the atmosphere of all of that going on. You just never want it directed at you, basically. And that was the thing I kept finding. I was like, this is great being here. And then, like, the gays would sweep the room and I'd be like, oh, please don't make me eat dried cockroaches, which kept happening to people.
Santa was less of a good Santa.
Yeah, Santa, I don't, like, I might be wrong, but I don't think it was the real Santa.
No, I would agree. I think that was the imposter Santa.
I've never seen Santa drink like that.
I mean, that was also
force people to drink like that.
Yeah, because you came over to what is considered to be there were people playing to win, and there were loads of great and competent gamers as you saw on the stream. What's also nice about what John and Johnny push is they want people to have a good time.
It's a party.
Yeah, it's a party, and they recognise that and we had a really interesting discussion last night in the pub, as if 2 days of constant live streaming, not involved in the 2 days of pre-talking that we did about the live stream. We talked about it last night at the pub afterwards.
Yeah, well, and then we also got two pints.
Yeah, Chrimbobo only got 2 pints. But we've also talked about it for the entire today as well. So it's been pretty much 5 days solid of only that conversation. But one of those things that they want to key in with, I think, is that there's a bunch of people who want to go and play games. They'd like to do well. A big shout out to someone like Steve Dooley, who's got Dark Clean Covenants. The stats say he should win 1 game, or possibly, they say he should win 1 game.
1 game.
And he won 2. So he doubled his performance.
Yep.
And he's over the moon.
He should be. According to the stats, he shouldn't have been able to do that.
But he also knows, going in, the maths say he's losing 4 games.
Yeah.
Right? So he's confident with that. So he's like, do you know what? I want it to be a fun weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't bitter about losing those games. He realised his expectations. But then what John and Johnny do is go, cool, you're not aiming for the prize. Here's a fun event to attend, which I respect a lot. I think that's what they
people definitely get their money's worth out of those events, I reckon.
And I think
probably
the problem is if you go into and I personally don't think people should ever go into tournaments expecting to win. I mean, wanting to do well, fair enough. But if you set that as your condition for having a good time, only one person is going to have a good time.
Yeah.
If winning is your goal. Whereas if you go in expecting to play 5 fun games of Warhammer, then you win as long as you play 5 games of Warhammer and aren't a dick.
Yeah.
And so that's why when I go to a tournament, I'm like, oh look, I'd really like to win 3, or I'd like to do this, or I'd like to maybe finish in the top half. But if you go in expecting to podium, then you put a lot of pressure on yourself and on your enjoyment of it. And then if you walk away and you're like, that's where people walk away and they're like, oh, if only I'd done this, I would have done this and gotten this, and I would have come here and blah, blah, blah. And like, they don't walk away going, I just had a wicked weekend.
Yeah.
And so I think that's maybe where like you can reassess the way you look at stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think it's a great weekend anyway, I thought. Venue was at the top of a casino. Which was pretty swanky.
Yeah, thank you everyone for keeping me off the casino floor as well, because I have a problem.
Which I think is lovely. Also, thank you, LRB, for donating to the show and hoping that we get drawn on the screen. There was an Iron Jaws player who went 3-2, which is a big deal.
Wow.
So that's very rare. Yeah. And also, show host Nikos, also a Seraphon player, he won 4, which is double. Him and Carl both won 4 out of 5, which is actually twice as good as Seraphon is currently performing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah. But then they would have bumped up the old worldwide stats.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah,
so that'd be good,
You
interesting
know
to
what?
see.
I hope that the Legion players bumped theirs down.
Yeah, Andy, nothing fills me with joy more than watching Legion Rise Wars player who aren't me do bad. Because the stats get worse, people think they're a trash army, and I sit there and I just go, listen, I'm going to take all your models off.
That's what I'm excited about with the stats, is now taking my Dispossessed to tournaments again, winning some games and being like, killing it.
Dan, you only won 3. It's like, based on the stats, man, that's 3 times better than anyone else.
Yeah, I should have won 1. I shouldn't have won any.
I shouldn't be here.
Wow. By the way, the Seraphon have jumped up in the top 10s. So, table. So they've actually gone up a place thanks to Carl and Nikos this weekend.
Okay, you're right.
So they've actually pushed them up. So what I love about that, and just tracking the stats constantly, is players around the world are just like, I've actually pushed us into a different tier, or I've improved our overall stats.
Well, it'll be interesting after, I don't know if the Australian Masters are going to be a part of that, but there's some very good players there. It's going to be a really competitive field, and I think there's 1 or 2 Seraphon lists going there as well. So yeah.
There is. One's got Dreadsaurian though, Chris Top.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mistake, in my opinion, but we shall see.
Yeah.
And then also, also in the Northern Masters, there's a Seraphon player.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're going to go into the stats, but it would be interesting to see where some of those armies do in a really competitive field as well.
Well, actually, if you type in !meta, it takes you, it describes what the meta is. And also, if you want to go onto the stats page, so that's the Honest Wargamer, Nathan, I know this is going to trigger you, about the stats, but if all of the stats...
It's the same website, it just has a different page on the website.
Yeah, so if you go onto there and just go on the stats, it just automatically, you can just see the stats from this weekend already done in loads of lovely terms. That's just baller as fuck. I haven't even seen that yet, because I've been setting all this stuff up.
Yeah, that's wicked.
I'm impressed with my own website.
Just give yourself a pat on the back. You earned it.
There's some cool shit there. That's good. There was also the meta different stuff that we had, which was really cool. Just some wicked shit. We'll read through that. We're going to do a stat show later about that, so that should be fun. So you were nervous going in? Reading what the guys are saying. Those guys are chatting. That's fine.
I was less comfortable than the last time, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I had to wear a tie.
Oh, right.
Fuck that shit.
It was a fashion problem you had. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Aaron Wilson, AOS said, I decided to subscribe to you guys after your amazing work at Chrimbobo. I kind of feel like you could have subscribed to us before. Got to be rude about it. I feel like we were smashing it before Chrimbobo, but I really appreciate that, Aaron.
You know, maybe it was just the tie. Maybe that was the tie. Do you want us to go and get him a tie right now? We can put another one on him.
So, nervous before, not bothered by it, or fine with it?
Get nervous before, and then just, like a duck to water. I got in and started doing it and just loved it. It was awesome. Couldn't get enough. Honestly, You'd
want to do more?
I want to do more. I want to do it again. I want to do it next weekend, the weekend after. Like, where are the tournaments?
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super... so, obviously, first thing to say, we're going to CanCon. And we're doing the live streaming at CanCon. That's a fact, and that's happening. We should have in-field reporters. We should have the whole kit and caboodle that we had here. We're going to work out how to do it. Maybe by then, it's probably unlikely. Maybe by then we could have drawing on the screen, but
maybe
I'll work out how.
It's Australia. I don't know. That's fancy. We're still working on electricity.
Scratching the sand.
The thing we do have is the sun. I saw the sun today for the first time in over a week since I arrived in this country. It was beautiful, and the clouds parted for about 30 seconds. I felt weird because I felt it on me, and I was like, oh. oh my God. And then it went away again. I was like, oh, okay, right. Yeah.
You also got to experience for the first time the wonderful community that we have who are there, but also, and this is really key, who watch us live.
Yeah.
So from all around the world, all those incredible people, what was that experience like?
Remarkable. Like, just indescribable. The way that, like, we'd be talking about something and then there'd just be all of these people, like active and not just excited to be watching, but excited to be a part of it. And I think that's the really awesome thing. It's like, it's a really cool, like, back and forth.
Yeah.
Look, I made some mistakes, in regards to challenging said community.
I was going to you knew where I was going, and that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no. So I never doubted you guys, but I made a joke. I made a joke based around the expectation that we all understood that it was a bit of fun.
So do you want to, before we get to the joke, do you want to explain to the world exactly how an Australian feels about Foster's beer? Because I didn't know this until
a Foster's beer, which I understand is
it's from Australia, right?
Is global, is not from Australia.
Wow.
We don't have it. You can't buy it, and most Australians don't know it exists. So what happened was a while back, like American and British like importers wanted to market an Australian beer. The cheapest one going was Foster's because no Australians were drinking it. So for a long time, it was made in Australia and 100% of what they produced was exported overseas. And then what happened was some very smart cookies decided, why are we paying for this? So they shut down the factories in Australia and they just make it in the UK and the US and sell it over here. So it's not Australian. We don't know it exists. It's just really good marketing. Because it's terrible.
Okay, good. So that would be true that you have never drank a Foster's, and every self-respecting member of the Australian community would never drink a Foster's.
Well, yeah, a few people were suggesting I should take some back, and I don't think I'd get through customs. They'd be flagged, they'd rip up my passport and throw me in prison. I'd never be heard of again.
Yeah, Mirbo says Foster's is an Australian question mark. My entire life has been a lie. Mark Wildman says, we'll talking to Mark Wildman in a minute.
That guy.
Yeah, that big ball bag. Says it's like the tears of ex-convicts, that's how it tastes.
Yeah, it's actually true. That's actually true. I would imagine that's where the first ones were made out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you talked to the chat about Foster's.
I didn't take to the chat. The chat started the conversation.
And then what happened?
And then I told them that Foster's is garbage. And someone, my memory fails me, so I'm really sorry. Someone donated 100 bits, I think, and said, like, let's start the Foster's for Dan fund. To which I said, thank you, that's never going to happen. Maybe if like we could get like 1,000 bits exclusively for Foster's, and that was a mistake because not even 60 seconds went by.
Well, what's incredible about the community, if you know this wargamer, like the picture of the Twitch guys, is number one, they're like, if we do good work, they're like, here's a bunch of bits or subscriptions. Thanks, you're doing a great job. Also, if they're like, we can make you do something, because famously, I hate the game Warhammer Skirmish. Mm-hmm. And I learned early on in my Twitch career not to fuck with the chat. It's key.
What did you do?
Well, I don't like it, and I told people, and I really think it's a bag of crap as a game.
Right.
And I did not make my feelings shine.
Yeah.
So I would set a ridiculous target for having to. They were like, "What can we do to make you play Warhammer Skirmish?" I was like, "I will pick a ridiculous amount of money, and I will play Warhammer Skirmish," and it happened immediately.
That was my experience as well.
What's happened, young? Oh no! All sorts of happened here. There's a dog scenario. They say never work with children or dogs.
Crap. And he just tied himself in my cable.
There you go. And everyone heard Jet bark at the mention of Skirmish.
Yeah. And it was a pained bark as well. You were very upset by this, weren't you?
Yeah, he was like, fuck you, Skirmish is great.
Yeah, I love Skirmo, which is what it's called in Australia. Skirmo is what we call it in Australia.
And then the visit says not only that, so he doesn't like it. Tomlet, though, says the beer is perfect. So yeah, they all do like it. But you've challenged the Twitch chat, and the Twitch chat succeeded.
In seconds, which was the bit. I was like, someone was like, haha, here's 100. I was like, good one, guys. And then boom, it was there. And then not only that, it just kept going. People just kept going. And now I have to.
You have to. So what's that there, Dan? I think in your country they would be called tinnies.
They would. and yeah. Like this one even has reduced on it. I assume is that. So maybe we should do a review.
Well, this is now the Foster's Can review.
So first of all, up the top, it says Melbourne, which is obviously a city in Australia.
Is that where it's from?
No, it's not, because it says here Foster's established 1888, and then as we go around, crafted to refresh for the thirsty, which is assumably why you would ever drink a beer. But on the back here, it says, brewed in Europe by Heineken UK Limited in Edinburgh. The Australian beer, marketed as from Melbourne, was brewed in Edinburgh.
So there's actually, just if you wanted to know, do you know where Melbourne is?
Yeah.
In the UK? Because everywhere in Australia except for Wollongong.
Wait, there's a Melbourne here?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So it's not far from Nottingham, actually. It's near Derby.
Okay.
Melbourne?
And it's got a hall, which is not dissimilar to that, but is that like the Melbourne City Hall or something?
To be honest, it actually looks like...
that's Melton.
It actually looks kind of like the Sydney Town Hall, to be honest. So it might even be a failure brand there.
So this is something you're not going to enjoy drinking.
Whose signature
This
is that?
something that I wouldn't be drinking if I hadn't made a dumb bet.
Other people may know that I famously, that's such an egotistical, cunty thing to say. I apologise for that. But famously or infamously, I don't drink and never have. I've been teetotal my entire life, which may make the entire Australian community hate me.
No, like the difference is in Australia, someone's like, I don't drink. We're like, yeah, fair call.
More for us.
Because we've all had hangovers.
More for us, more for Scrivo.
Yeah, more for Scrivo.
And Scrivo drinks my share of the alcohol, which I think
that's why you're his sponsor.
But, so alcohol, I don't think I've had alcohol for maybe 5 or 6 years since my friend got, in fact 6 years since my friend got married, and I drank some pink champagne, a small tipple. So I thought, in an act of solidarity between our countries, I would also share a sip of Foster's with you.
Okay, well,
so are we all ready to have our Foster's?
And like the famous quote in 300, I won't enjoy this. It won't be over quickly.
Wait, I'm going to give you a small review.
Cheers.
Skull.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's horrible. That's not nice. Beer's not nice, is it? Right.
I like beer.
Okay.
This isn't beer. This is...
Oh.
It's like... So in Australia, we have a beer called VB. And now VB is served in very, very dark brown bottles.
Yeah. Like Newcastle Brown.
Yeah, it's basically so that when you're drinking it, you can't see the dirt that they've used to brew it, because presumably that's all they did, is scrape up some bog water and then serve it to you as alcohol. I don't know how dark you need to make the bottle so that you wouldn't see what I presume is in this.
This is going to pour it out. There we go.
It looks like piss.
Like the LOB saying it looks like you're enjoying it. Oh, Tristan Gray, I'm very sorry to hear that, brother. I hope you're well. There we go.
Ooh, God.
So, that's sorted with. That's gross. Not into that. But, congratulations. Well done for learning. Don't fuck with the Twitch chat.
Don't fuck with the chat. And as the first Foster's, I can confirm that this will be the last.
Hi, Donaldinho. Licking his shot. Screenshot done.
What?
Donaldinho is just screenshotted.
No, please don't let that get back to Australia. They won't accept me.
I imagine it's on Twitter in as long as it takes Donaldinho to then go to Twitter, which would be quick.
I'm going to be rejected from home like a bad transplant.
Sprinter MD says, thank you for the awesome broadcast this weekend. I thought a down shot every time someone talks shit about Legion of Asgore or Shoreheart, but almost passed out in the first hour. And weirdly, Sprinter MD is actually the other account of Scrivo.
I was about to say, it was Scrivo shotting.
Tristan Gray, I hope you're well, brother. I'm really sorry about that. An AOS coach says, I've already contacted the AFP.
That's the Australian Federal Police.
Not to let you back in. Right, okay.
Can I stop now?
Yeah, of course you can. Would you like another beer to cleanse your palate, or would you like a water?
I know, but I feel like I should ask the chat.
No, don't do this!
They're the ones who paid for it.
You control them. You do not work at their whim. No way. What would you like? Water?
I'm going to find something. Okay, we're in a bar. I'm going to find something.
Something healthier.
Yeah.
Right. So, Nate, good weekend overall.
Yeah.
Dan did great.
Yeah.
Great. Smashed him over there. So we talk about, the venue, the casino was great. Very fun.
Yeah, I didn't make it into the casino park, but it looked pretty snazzy as I walked through. But the room we were in, and the stairwell, and, great. It was quite warm the first day, but then I just think, obviously, because it's cold outside, they had the heating on. But it wasn't too bad.
No, it was right. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked like a really rubbish bartender, which was fantastic. And I had a Swiss time.
Yeah, I think the food was good for the guys. They had pizza the first day, burgers, they looked decent. Yeah. Especially for the price and the place. It was good. The bar was there, a bit expensive, but unfortunately that's what you get in a casino. You pay for it, I guess. Yeah. You want a bottle opener?
Love one.
Yeah, and then, so I think that's about
It's now on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
It's already on Twitter.
Shit.
The hand dryers in the box were immense.
They banished.
They sprayed shit everywhere. They were shit sprays.
It's quite a thing for the honest-wargamer and anyone in the future who gets the opportunity to potentially check out hand dryers in venues. We're all about that.
Yeah. That's the key.
You got Stella.
Yeah, so Amy said
Stella's got a reputation for people that like fighting.
Oh, really? Well, I am from Australia, so.
Matty Jim Bob Jr. Is in the chat. It was his first weekend as well. It was also JJ's first weekend at a tournament. It was great. He looked great, Matty Jim Bob Jr. And I'd like to just point out that some people don't know this, but we are now going to, you know how the pro painter does the painting masters? We're going to do the best dressed masters from the honest-wargamer.
Fashions on the field.
Yeah, fashions in the field. Absolutely, fashions in the field. Okay. And the winner this weekend of the Fashions in the Field award goes to Mr. Matty Jim Bob Jr. He's sporting a fantastic bow tie, white shirt, suit jacket combo on the Saturday with a cricket hat on a kind of, a summery hat, suit jacket on the Sunday, which I thought was great. A lot of people dressed down Sunday.
Yeah, they relaxed.
They relaxed.
Did we relax on Sunday?
No, we did not.
I did.
You did. Yeah.
Well, we didn't have a class to take.
So well done, Matty Jim Bob Jr. Your prize will be... Your prize is on the way. So congratulations. So let's talk about the game, shall we? Yeah, we've done the venue, we've done the event. The people were amazing. Everyone who came up and said hello. That was amazing. Lovely. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Chris Frostrin, big shout out to you. You went and got us back to did loads of other lovely things while taking incredible photos. Yeah. Which you can check out on chrisfrostrin.com.
I never look good in photos. And apparently when they're taken and I'm unawares, I'm not the worst, which was good. I just need to somehow make sure that's the only way it happens. Yeah. It's because I'm like, my face is weird, so at least if I pull a weird face, that justifies looking weird in photos.
But weirdly, according to Chris, you and me pull the same faces.
yeah, that's it. It's like looking into a bearded mirror.
So, let's talk about it. So we got there, and the first game that we had on was Sylvaneth versus Ironjaws, which was fun. Old Fretto, trying really hard. He long bombed in a dirty. Now, what you didn't see prefixed by that game was the 3-hour chat held in this very venue where we are now, before we ever attended, in deciding what the first game that we were going to show was.
Yeah.
We decided to have a Silver Death list that had quite a lot of endless spells versus an Iron Claws list, which is double Maw Crusher. Because
I just looked at Twitter and it's not good.
You're in trouble.
I am.
What's interesting is the coach is here. He's already grabbed the image, and now Australia knows.
I'm gonna be in so much trouble when I get home. I just hope my family doesn't see it. I'll be disowned. Look what you've done.
But at least your mum can write it, lol.
Lol. No, but that's the problem. She thinks it's lots of love. She wouldn't. She'd be, oh no, son of mine. So we spent about 3 hours before that game. Double Maw Crusher was really interesting. 2 artifacts. And then you had a Null Root with loads of other spells. We were like, this is a super interesting game. Can't wait to see how it's going to pan out. That Double Maw Crusher could be a thing. That's what we talked about. Especially Double Maw Crusher, one with the -1 to hit blade, I believe, and the other one with Doppelganger Cloak. So like that sweet 1-2 punch.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And then Nathan, obviously at that point, said, where are these lists? And then we got to introduce him to the fact that we have this website. It's like, they're all on our website, eh? And then he said, what is it called?
Followed immediately by too many websites.
There are now too many websites. Yeah, we need to find information.
One too many. The boat's already sitting pretty low, and they're like,
yeah, just gone. Yeah. Nathan overwhelmed by the volume of information that you can get from any website.
From the internet.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just put on YouPorn like all the other stuff I look at?
That is the most confident way to grab all the information, Nathan. You're right.
What we're doing is so wrong.
Well, we tried, but they actually deleted it because some of it was just too dirty. Oh, nailed it. Right, so, and then what was fun was, we got to the table, yeah, and then it turned out that this incredibly complicated fun game that we could do commentary over was a gentleman called Fredo who'd forgotten all of his endless spells. Who then decided to long bomb charge Durthu in, which seemed insane to me.
Unsupported. Unsupported because the other charges failed. But I was like, why wouldn't you start with the other charges first to then see if Durthu wants to go in? And then Durthu did what Durthu does best, which was basically take one of those maraca things that you see at football games and just sit there going, yeah, instead of actually grabbing his sword.
Everyone with a Durthu is a disappointed parent.
Yeah.
They're just stop this. And then we saw Idols just strike back in what can only be described as an underwhelming fashion. Deciding, Nathan, in what world ever, apart from your dreams, and I know you're going to say straight away yes, do you think a Maw Crusher could kill 6 Colonel Hunters?
Oh, every day of the
week. He can't!
Not a chance. Not a fart's chance in a hurricane.
You kill, how many wounds have they got? 5 wounds.
Yeah, and they reroll saves.
No. Well, you'd flatten one and most of one.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 mortal wounds, obviously, when you charge them.
Well, no, isn't it only 8 wounds on a 4-up?
Yeah, so that's 8.
This is what I'm saying. So this is 8. This is how this player was thinking. Okay, 8. I've killed 2 nearly. Right? Next.
Then you use your sword, your chopper, the big chopper, and you knock the head off of. That's another. So it's 4, so 8. So it's another 8 wounds.
So 16.
Yeah. Smash those guys. Then you deck one on the chin.
Yeah.
Give him 3 wounds. Bang.
Okay, 19.
Yeah, and then the Maw Crusher squashes 12 wounds out of the rest of them.
Okay, so 28.
Yeah, and then the tail swings around, whang, and knocks the top off of one for another 3. 31 wounds. Job done.
Against the 30 wound unit.
Yeah.
If everything hits a wounds.
Yeah, so...
No, wait, wasn't there 6 in there?
Yeah, so 30 wounds, right?
Yeah. So, they kill them all the time.
So, assuming everything hits wounds and fails every armor set. Every re-rollable armor set.
Yeah.
You kill them by 1 wound.
You overkill them every time by 1 wound.
So, it was a real surprise then.
When they only killed 3.
And then it got back up.
Yeah, the one got rest, and then it got nuked in a turn.
Oh.
I actually think, to be fair, watching that game and like thinking back on it and stuff, I actually think the after Dirthu going in like that kind of sweeping pincer to the side, I reckon it really had merit to pick up on the objectives. I just think it wasn't executed perfectly. Yeah, I think it was the right concept, wrong execution.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, Fredo forgetting the end of the spells did really put because it was also against a weird knob. It was a weird fist. It was also part of the Iron Jaws list, so we thought that was really cool because the potential for a great first game, loads of banter, could be obviously that foot going off and doing a ton of mortal wounds, but just ended up not going off. So.
Yeah, well, he got it off first turn, but it didn't carry on.
The pinky of Cork did 5.
Just one stomp. And then
can we stop for a second? Isn't it funny that 5 mortal wounds is unimpressive? like anywhere else in the game, you're like, oh, it did 5 mortal wounds. You're like, fuck yeah! But like this one time, it's like, foot of Cork went off. It only did 5. You're like, oh wow, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Tom that's in the chat, he said, I was terrified of Foot of Cork. So that's why Dirthu went in, because Dirthu's mission was to go get
the weird knob.
And he hadn't got it 4 turns later, because he was surrounded by our boys.
But also, maybe that's what put him off, because he didn't get Foot of Cork off again either. So maybe Dirthu's standing there, he's like, oh god, no. Like, the foot wanted to come down, he's like, no, I don't want to get a splinter.
So that was a win to Sylvaneth, which I thought was interesting. And then Sylvaneth ended up over the weekend doing quite well, with going into round 4. 3 of the Sylvaneth players were on tables 1, 2, and 3.
And overall, Sylvaneth had an 80% win rate.
Yeah, which was incredibly impressive. Yeah, so that was really, really good. Well, this tactic make it to the workbook. Astral Creeper. Nathan, yeah.
And that's the overwhelming force tactic, where you just what was one of the cheats from like I don't know anyone who played StarCraft as a child, but like power overwhelming that made all of your units like immortal and super powerful.
Nice.
So you just need to play Age of Sigmar with cheats engaged.
Yeah. Or just in Nathan's world.
Or just cheat.
Yeah.
Just cheat. Like, that's an option.
We don't understand that. We don't know. Yes, there was a whole bunch of things that we didn't understand about that game, which is going to happen, but thankfully I have loads of experience with that. From the previous job, so that was fun, and it was at least interesting.
It was an entertaining game.
But what's interesting is it usually, as the games get on and you get players who are making decisions that seem more in line with what the casters say, you tend to get games that like more go along where you think they're going to go. But that was not really the journey we went on this weekend.
We went on a wild ride.
Yeah.
But the thing was though, that was an entertaining game. Before we move on, the last moment from that game.
When
that was Russia just scuffled through half of the Sylvaneth army and just would charge, kill the unit, charge, kill the hero, charge, kill the unit, until he got too tired to keep charging, basically. He just, like every now and then, people tell stories and they're like, wouldn't it be great if your Maw Crusher just got off like 4 or 5 charges and killed everything, and then it happened.
It's 16 mortal wounds in one charge phase.
But he didn't even make it to the combat phase. He killed him. He got to the end. He's like, all right, I want to fight something. He's like, oh shit.
They're all dead.
And even then, if he'd have, because I'm sure he was getting very excited, but the third charge I think he made, if you'd have placed the model a little bit more...
If you'd have positioned a little bit better, it could have gone on to another one.
Which would have been incredible. But it was an amazing end to the game. Yeah. Absolutely. I also want to say a big shout out to AD Max in the chat, who ended up taking a bunch of trophies home, and Pete, WS10 Pete was there this weekend having a great time. Also, Pete pointed out that he's been a Patreon from day one. So he's helped bring the last Boba cover to this Boba cover to this show constantly. So big shout out to Pete. And Amy. I'm
going to go back through the chat as well and find anyone who was responsible for me drinking the Fosters. And I'm going to excommunicate you. But everyone else, you're fine. I love you.
Yeah, Book of Grudges going to get full.
Real full. So then, second game that we streamed was Carl. And he played with Seraphon. He played against a big ton of Wrathmongers. Interesting game. We prefix that with like, that'll be really interesting because obviously it's 2 units, 6 Rippers, there's 4 units of Wrathmongers, there's 2 lots of 10 Blood Warriors. So anything Carl hits,
he's going to be hitting it back.
He's going to be hitting it back, or he's going to be fighting himself. So he's in a tough spot. I was like, that's going to be a really interesting game to watch.
But Carl
Carl did not want to fuck with our plan.
Yeah, so Carl was like, well, the Rippers aren't fighting Wrathmongers, so fuck you.
However, things went bad against Khorne turn 1. And yet, even down into the third turn, there was still that sliver of hope. There were a couple of mistakes made that gave them the chance to push their way back through. It was a great game, but yeah, it's the Seraphon rolling 2 5s for their teleports in turn 1.
Yeah, massive.
Just incredible.
Yeah, but I got to say that I really think that was an excellent example of the power of the Seraphon list being used really, really well by someone who's played them a long time.
Yeah.
And it felt like watching like a doctor cut out or a surgeon cutting out bits of flesh that he just wanted off. He's like, I want this, I want that. And it was really precise. It was
and the
really
thing
good.
I really liked as well is that there was nowhere, I don't think, in that Seraphon list that could fight the Khorne list in a straight up fight. So it was a ton of like kind of guerrilla harassing or dropping in with the Rippers to kill out a threat that they could easily remove without engaging anything else or giving much of a chance of stuff to come back. It was really interesting to watch because anywhere where a unit of Seraphon seemed to get tied up, things would go bad for them really quickly.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like kind of needle strikes to keep things clear of objectives or to take an objective and then lose that unit again. It was really cool.
And also,
just dragging Khorne all over the board.
Yeah.
So Khorne wasn't fighting together in as a cohesive force. Yeah, they were just spread out all over, getting run ragged. So
yeah, and I thought that was really key. And also, for me, the key way that Seraphon plays as an army, its job is to do that. Now, sometimes obviously it can't because it's not given the option or the space because the other player's got loads of board control. But sometimes you can just do it that way, and I thought it was great. What I really like is you go back and watch and you see how Kyle left himself at the end of turn 1. If he got the turn, he had the option to push and do things, but he also had screens and other things set up if he didn't get the turn, which I thought was excellent and was really, really useful. And what was really telling, I thought, is he basically won the game not really needing the Ripper Dusters. They did take an objective in the bottom right-hand corner, but the other Unit 6 didn't. They weren't needed.
No, but they were a threat that just was there all the time. And they were a screen on that side, so yeah.
I agree.
Pretty sweet.
I agree.
And then the thing is, though, in that particular matchup, they weren't great. But then, in a different matchup, they would be the great things, and the Razordoms would be, less of the use. Yeah. So, I do think it's nice to have a balance. You can't just rely on one thing or the other.
Yeah,
it's nice to have
a really versatile army.
I think I've made a fun version of that list in my head that's 16 salamanders. And Miss Miniatures have just released some salamander models that look incredible.
Yeah.
And I won't be for a couple of months, but I think I'm going to go and get those because the salamander models from Games Workshop just suck. And it means can't play with Games Workshop events, that's fine, but they're just so good.
They do look really cool.
They look really cool. So
yeah, definitely. The Miss Lizardman sort of range has got some really sweet little models.
So I'm very interested in going and looking at them. Also, key point that Don Dean's pointed out, and I do agree with, I think Carl played an excellent game. I do think there was a singular mistake, though, in that he gave Khorne the potential opportunity to bring the game back.
Yeah. Burning the one objective, which was really out of Khorne's reach.
But the thing that I thought was really awesome to see was James, who was playing the Khorne. The second he smelt blood in the water, it was like watching a shark.
Yeah.
And the way that he really quickly, if you go back and watch that turn, he tags a unit of Rippers top and bottom so that they're kind of locked out from being useful.
Yeah.
And then he pushes his forces forward in a really good way to contest that objective. If he'd won the priority, I feel pretty good in saying that I reckon he would have taken that objective.
Yeah.
I think he would have taken it. He could have potentially burnt his and then focused his army around controlling it. And that to me is a sign of someone able to capitalize on a mistake. And I think Carl got a little bit lucky then that he won that priority because I think he could have been in a lot of trouble if he lost it.
I mean, he still had the unit Rippers at the bottom that could go threaten the unit at the top. But you're right, we said it on the show. It's that thing where you've got the guy running the 100-meter race. 100 meters is probably not fair, but a big long run race. He's close to, he's in the final stretch. He's just showboating. And that's not, I'm not saying Carl was showboating by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I mean, it was weird that he kept dancing
I
beside
know,
the
right?
table.
And the fact that he now has the dance, the Carl dance, where he just, it's like, I'm winning, which I thought was too much.
And then, like, when he was setting off all the screamers and things like that around himself and just, like, signing autographs. Like, I mean, I thought it was a little showy.
The selfies were over the top.
Yeah,
the selfies were just too much.
And then when he just, like laid down and pretended to sleep, you know, like, I just thought that was just, you know, I might have been a little over the top, but, like, that's what a rock star gets to do.
Exactly. Especially when you're rock starring. But yeah, I do think that was something that,
he left himself open at the final moment to possibly drop the game.
Yeah, and it probably was like a very outside chance. But if there's no chance, there's no chance, right?
Yeah.
Like, which is key. Which actually is another part of the story later on that we're going to talk about in another game. But for me personally, watching it, I thought it was a really good example of someone playing their list pretty masterfully, knowing what their units do, and then just cutting parts away from his opponent, which I thought was key. But it was good. I also think the core list is really interesting. I know later on that the Wrathmongers ended up making Vordry kill himself, which is excellent and is really fun. And I know there was also a story with that over in Sweden at the Europe's largest Age of Sigmar event, where 2 Magma Dragons killed themselves against 2 Wrathmongers.
I've seen
more on that later.
I saw Nagash and a unit of Archai go into a unit of Wrathmongers, and then just the Archai, because I think the guy playing them didn't really know what they did. And the Archai smashed themselves apart, and then Nagash basically took the sword and put it in himself, just opened himself up. It was great.
But I do think it was a masterful display. I really do, especially with that army. The army is also beautiful, and you can go on honest-wargamer.com. You can check out Carl's list where he's done a really long rundown about his army, that specific army he played, how he uses it, and the synergy in it. So it's totally worth reading. I thought it was cool, and it was great to have someone like that not only play on the show so you could play on the stream so you could see it, but also just being done so well. I also think Wrathmongers are still a thing. I'm not sure about 4 units of Wrathmongers, but a unit of Wrathmongers is a threat, like the Ripidactyls were a threat.
Yeah. For a balanced army, definitely.
They're obviously not a threat to Dispossessed.
No, nothing threatens them really.
Dispossessed can't fight well enough to be hurt by themselves.
How is that the experience that we've taken away?
Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh wow, now we can move on to game 3. Can't we?
This was a good game. Possibly the best commentated game of all of the weekend.
Donaldinho says he's off to sleep, and he also says thanks to Dan for flying over and proving that I was his Dupin Fosters.
I love you. If I ever find you.
You do know that he's the reason for AOS 2.1. Him and Darren. So there were 2 gentlemen. There's Donaldinho and there's Darren. Donal and Darren. The D's. Yeah? They double D'd AOS 2. Yeah? AOS 2 launched. AOS 2 launched, and those 2 double D'd it. And Darren summoned like 2,000 points a turn with Seraphon and engines. And then Donal did 1 billion damage with a grot. No, he did like 196 damage with
basically, the whole army that Darren would have summoned, 1 grot would have killed.
I mean, I would have really loved to have seen that match.
Oh man, wouldn't it be good? Now what he's also responsible for is the fact that my phone keeps going off, so I can only assume that that's everyone on Twitter disowning me. So thank you so much.
So we're now in AOS 2.1, as we call it, after the big FAQ, because they broke it on the first week. I mean, it was the most obvious problems in the world. But
they gold bloomed. They gold bloomed. And for anyone who doesn't understand that phrase, you need to go back and watch the Twitch because we explained it.
We're going to be saying that a lot. So into the third game. Now, this was exciting for me because I got to do something which I didn't get to do last time, which was not commentate. But that's really fun because I respect both of you, both as commentators, as gamers.
You didn't feel respectful, did it?
No.
Well, it was meant to
be. And do some fucking commentary.
So I got to do. I thought what you would learn is to show some respect towards an army that you poo-pooed. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll send you guys in, and you can commentate on the game of Legion of Asgore. Versus the Darling of the Deep himself, a bunch of Deepkin from James, and watch that game and commentate. So what was that experience like?
Well, I mean, first of all, we should probably say that we prefaced the entire thing with that would be the most hostile commentary any gamer would ever experience. Because from the outset, we were openly biased against both armies, really.
To be honest.
Our dream was that they both conceded and both got major losses. But we were definitely against the Legionless.
Yeah.
You were. Also, Gammy89 says, Dan, I've got my flannel on.
Oh, you beautiful man. So, Gammy, Mr. Gamatron himself, is a legend from over in Australia and a really old mate from the area where I used to grow up. And he's just an incredible man. And I believe right now sporting a very mighty moustache for Movember.
Oh, congratulations.
So, yeah, Mr. Gammy, and he always wears his best flannel. Yeah, I know. He's a man after your own heart.
Snapposaurus Rex.
Yeah,
Mine's just a lovely grey check number today. The Legion of Asgore, my mate, and my gaming competitor, as the number 2 best Legion of Asgore player in the world, I thought that Andy would be able to really show how good they were on the table. So,
and he did. That's how good they are.
I was about to say, and him representing as the number 2, it seemed about what I expected from them.
Went down like a bucket of shit.
Yeah, that's it.
Look at it. I feel like I need to defend Andy. So Andy hadn't played Eels before, so there were 2 units of 9 offensive Eels, weren't there?
They were very offensive.
They were very offensive.
They offended his sensibilities in the front and the back.
They were snakes everywhere, weren't they?
Yeah.
Slippery little fuckers.
Yeah.
Right in there.
They just slid right at the back door because he left it wide open. Which in Australia is a real problem. If you leave your back door open, lizards, snakes, all kinds of things are going to get in.
So you knew, don't do that.
Oh mate, I knew it. He left the drop toilet wide open and they went straight up the poo chute.
So what he did was, obviously, there was some, I feel like there were some mistakes made by Andy, really. We talked about it a lot after. We felt he should have played like a refused flank sort of system. I definitely felt that way. I thought he'd done really good.
I thought he'd made loads of mistakes when he picked his arm.
Shit.
Are you happy to be a part of this conversation? Because at least you were, I don't know.
Well, so I was doing the information from the table at that time, and it was really tough for me because I was just like, he's moved. And what Maroon was going, don't do that. Yeah, I was like, the eels are attacking.
And then you'd be listening to the two of us being like, oh, this is just bullshit. Like, blah, blah, blah. I can just imagine you seething there, like quarantined off, just wanting to say something. And you did. You kept walking back over to the table being like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, ah!
That is the hardest bit doing the commentary, doing the information from the table, is you're just like, you so want to be involved, right? At least when you're the commentator, you get to get it out. You're like, what are you doing, Alan?
What's he doing? Like that moment where you and I were just delirious. Like,
oh dear. Yes, I think when Andy put the unit of 35 graves on top of the hill, which was also mystical, so there was 30 wounds on a 3-up save, that ignore the first wound, they've obviously got that 6-up mystical save. I was like, they're laughing, that's a great bait unit on the side objective, you can just sit strong in the centre right, and then could re-attack with the Kadai, and then just threw the Kadai at the Torok forward, and left the backfield open, I was like, oh no. But then I was like, Andy's pretty good. I don't know what's about to happen. What I really enjoyed though, and what about to happen was, as you guys like to describe what happened?
Eels in the front, eels in the back.
And
even thralls into dwarves as well.
Oh wow, yeah. And then I remember walking past and like when there was a little break, and I think you asked me like, so what was your plan going in? And he was like, I don't know.
Didn't know what they did. Yeah, I go and give them a poke.
Oh, they didn't like that.
But what I really enjoyed was the bull Torok on top of the hill almost survived the eel and 9 eels going into. So I don't mention him too often, but that just goes to show just how incredibly survivable that single model is. -1 to hit. He was sat on the 3-up save, a 5-up ignore the first wound he took. he almost survived. And I remember Dave being like, actually, what the hell?
Yeah.
He was like, because he went in, because that same unit went in and killed 2 magma cannons, a demon smith, killed sorcerer lord. Like, they went in and murdered a lot.
30 fire glaives.
Yeah, later on they killed 35 glaives. So it's just pretty horrific. But the Kadai also took a bit of beating as well before they went down.
They still had quite a bit of punch even when they were almost dead.
Yeah, like 4 of them were still hurting things. Yeah.
Interesting game though. I felt I could have been played a different way because I don't know, so the eel list, so the undead list, and I think the Darling of the Deep himself is actually his list is available on the website. I think he's actually doing a guide for us, which I think is super lovely of him. I haven't actually had the opportunity to play him, but being at the tabletop, you really get to see what 2 people are like. Andy was awesome. He was awesome. Their game was just really friendly, really fun. There were no issues. They were just like spot on as gamers. They were super lovely to each other. But previously at the GT finals, he played a game next to me, and he watched my Chaos Dwarf game against someone, and I just think he's a really top bloke. So it's a pleasure getting to see him again, and also be able to watch his game.
And he didn't lose the game on the weekend, the Eels guy.
Yeah, he ended up coming second.
Yeah, he got 4 majors and 1 minor.
Yeah, because he ended up having to play World's Best Sport, Laurie Wigbit. Yes, in his final game, taking him to 4 majors and a minor.
I think he got the minor in his 4th game.
Yeah, against Laurie.
Against Laurie.
Yeah.
What was his 5th game then?
Major win.
Against?
I don't know, some other orange.
Maybe.
Isn't silver in there?
No, so, he would have played...
Scryer, he played Joe at the end.
Oh, yeah.
He played Clan Scryer at the end. Yeah. So, and big shout out to Joe kicking it with Clan Scryer, bringing an army back away from the past.
Scryer didn't do too bad.
Still hasn't painted it either, I noticed. It's still fucking grey.
Yeah, I think
that's a colour. I've explained to you now, that's a concept.
Oh, yeah, it's a concept army.
Yeah, grey. He just did a Tamiya wash, and then a Tamiya wash on top, and then with a Tamiya dry brush.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's some lovely ethereal armies floating around out there that trigger me so much.
Wow. Just been on the website, because LV just linked this in the chat. Some of the list rundowns on the website. Pete Pratt has had 512 views, which is just crazy.
Is that Pete keeps looking at
one?
that.
He's just got to refresh. It's like, I'm loving this.
You find the IP that's been looking at it. It's the same one.
Yeah, that's just incredible.
Like a budgie looking at itself in the mirror, just being like, "Who's a pretty boy?"
Yeah, that's awesome. The most upvoted list currently is Laurie Huggett Wild's Winterleaf plus Phoenix equals narrative list.
How many votes is that?
52 votes he's got. So he's currently...
I heard he's got 52 computers.
What I love is you think it requires another computer to upvote it.
A whole computer.
Account, just another computer.
A whole computer. He's got a room full of them, and he's just going back to the shop to go and get another 12.
Like those people who buy Instagram followers. You just imagine there's some warehouse full of thousands of computers, and the person sitting in front of each one liking all of these posts.
In fact, I'm going to do the top 5 quickly if you don't mind. Second most upvoted list currently. This is out of all lists on the site, and if you go into factions or even Grand Alliances, they go down. So second, and it's quite a nice mix actually. Second is Vince Ventrella of Warhammer Weekly himself, and he's got with an Iron Jaws list. The best Iron Jaws is the list. Pete Pratt, the most viewed list on the site, but that's because it's one. Well, not because. Sorry, Pete. It's good speech. It's incredible. But also, he's one of our featured lists. There'll be another featured list this week. That's the drone Counter-Strike list from Nerdhall. Donal, Grot Terrorist himself, has got a You Can't Touch This list. Basically, his debuff Grot list.
MC Hammer, Moonclan Hammer.
The Moonclan Hammer. The MC Hammer. Can't touch this. Netters.
Fuck Netters. Oh,
you played them today, right?
Yeah, and that was the Prime charged in and was hitting on 5s at one point. You still beat him to death, but he just did it a lot worse than he would have normally.
And then Ashby Cooing, one of your countrymen himself, he's got 44 votes. Glimmervolt Oligarchy, so a Zinch list.
It's a really different Zinch list as well. Like, I mean, it's still Zinch, so it's still, you know, just like whatever. But no, it's actually a really interesting list. It's a lot, not the same thing that you'd see from every Zinch.
And you can read through it, which is cool. Cool. Then you got Nagash Smash. So Steve Curtis, who's there this weekend, lovely top bloke. Oh my God, 44 upvotes. Who's this gentleman? Rob's Gunner Guide. That's right, the man himself, me. We have our own guy.
You've definitely got 44 computers.
Yeah, no, I guess when you've probably got admin settings, you can just change those numbers to whatever you want.
I haven't. Then AD Mac himself. His list that he had this weekend is up now on the site. He ended up Best Sports and also the Best Painted Army Award. Yeah. And he is on the list. And Give Thyself to Chaos with our Lord Archeon is on this.
Yeah, and like I saw those models, having not ever seen anything of his work before, I went and saw his army. And it was this awesome unit of like marauders and things like that converted out of poxwalkers. And I know that sometimes you see people and they do a conversion and it's based around getting like cheap models or doing things like on the like quick or that kind of thing. Like when you see people who use Dragon Princes as Blood Knights and stuff like that. But every one of them were like beautifully converted and painted and everything like that. And I just thought that was incredible. And that's a lot of detail to go into for units that will die like that.
Just dead. You are dead now, sir.
And it's not like, oh, there's a couple of models who said they're marauders. You just take them off into a bucket. So yeah, that was a beautiful army. Absolutely stunning.
I'm just going to quickly... so LOV says, Laurie Hook is so spoiled, he stole a mine and lost from James. P. Price says, my mum has nothing better to do than continuously press refresh.
No, I'm just going to make sure everybody knows he's a good boy.
And Matty said that he happened to play Netters and they made him sad. He also happened to play Laurie and that also made him sad. So I feel that's a really good... That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent review, yeah.
And then I think last Jeremy, you also have got Jared, who's done a KO list, so quite a few votes. And then Dan Say, Iron Bait, 42 upvotes. You played that list today, right?
Dan actually played that list today and did the Iron Bait bait.
Yeah.
The
Iron Break is the bait.
No, the Iron Drakes are the bait. And you went for them hard.
Oh, that little unit?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Look,
Go on, then.
You know how you know it's a good bait? Because you took it without even knowing. The hook was in, you didn't even notice. I was like,
Hi, Fireborn. Oh, we just spoke about you. That was the game, and unfortunately it was a loss to Chaos Dwarfs, but that's very sweet of Andy, making sure that I don't get nerfed. He said it's important. He's already qualified, so he's completely comfortable. He's not bothered about winning, so sometimes he's going to go to some events with the Chaos Dwarfs to just tank the stats, keeping us both under the nerf radar for the next few months, which I respect. I think that's the correct way to do it. Do you believe they will nerf the Order Draconis, or that they will go away? Like Carrion Urge, really triggered. I hope not. It's a great army. If Nathan had to read the website, he would have beat Dan today.
Well, he would have known what not to shoot at. No, but I think one of the interesting things about the website and hearing some people are very protective of their lists.
Yes.
They don't want to talk about them. They don't want to tell people how it works. And I respect that. I think that's fair enough. But my attitude is that and we're only talking competitively. Like, I'm not talking about fun games or narrative games or when you just go to have a pickup game with a mate. I mean, like, when you go into a tournament, I don't want to beat someone because they didn't understand what I could do.
Yes.
I want to beat them because I outplayed them.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that almost, I would say most gamers before the game sit down and explain to their opponent what their army does.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you don't want to win a game because you retreated a unit of skinks out of combat and your opponent didn't know they could do that. And then your justification is like, well, they could have checked the war scroll.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that there's something for that. And also, I think the more that we share our lists and we share all those awesome combos, the more creative we're going to get and the more interesting stuff we're going to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that's a great segue into game 4, realistically, because, and what happened between those two players. But before we quickly do, I was going to say, again, shout out to Adam who worked the weekend, you two. We had very little sleep during the setup on Friday, leading in 4 hours.
A bee's dick.
A bee's dick worth of sleep leading into Saturday. So we were all running on, I would say we were running on fumes pretty much on Saturday. I then went to work Saturday night, which I knew I was going to have to do, and that was fine. So I went to work, went to DJ, where I DJed Saturday night, no issues. I knew for a fact I'd organised a Lindy Hop social that weekend, yeah? So a bunch of Lindy Hop and swing dancers turned up and started dancing. I was like, this is cool. And then I walked in the bar, and old Richie from Just Play Podcast, James, was there, yeah? And the man, the myth, the legend himself is Paul Haley. And I was like, you guys came to see me. That's sweet. Yeah. Had a little chat with them. I was like, look, I've only got 3 minutes in between songs. I'm going to have to keep popping back. But it's lovely to see you. Like, really nice of them. I was like, that's great. Problem is then, 40 other wargamers turned up. Yeah. Which was the weirdest experience of my life. Like, for me, like, number one, I couldn't have appreciated it more because it was just stunning. It was just lovely. It was just flat lovely. That they all did that. Number two, it's super weird. A bunch of, like, I live in that little DJ box. Twice a week, I spend 5 hours in there minimum. It's 10 hours of my life. Done it for 10 years. Yeah, this is kind of like a home away from home for me. And then, what happened was, I then saw people who I've only seen from around the world. A fellow I've spoken to from Australia, who I think is a wonderful man. My friend Nathan is in a suit and a tie and a Christmas hat.
That's got a Santa hat as well.
I find out Steve Dooley and his missus are great dancers. Yeah. Nick Thompson's a great dancer. Yeah. I found all that out. That was great. I reconfirmed that Joe Purcell is not a great dancer, but tries really hard, which I love. Found out Scrivo can't drink. Yeah.
Well, no, but the bar takings were up 1 gazillion.
1 gazillion percent.
Well, when we say that Scrivo can't drink, we would just say that Scrivo is actually quite a talented drinker. It's the points from there onwards that he seemed to struggle with.
Also, Wales Hat says, shameless plug, check out the Scryer list. It's called 6 Gun Gambling Rat. So you can just click by sub-factions. Cool, so you can click Chaos and Scryer, and that'll be a quick way to find it. So what was it called? Scryer is 6 Gun Gambling Rat. Love the show, glad the website's here. Great work with it. So thanks. I will be checking that out later.
Yeah, cool,
that
sounds like a 6-shooter, you know, like an old spaghetti western, just like.
I feel like he's taking some Storm Fiends with all the guns.
Yeah.
I just hope that they're all just, everything is the rattling gun option.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, do you want to shoot more? Yeah. You know you might explode, of course.
I'm quite excited about it because I wonder what the maths is on it. So
probably bad. It's Scryer. It only works 1 out of 10 times, but when it does, your opponent's army is removed off the table turn 1.
But anyway, long story short, I had to stay there till 3 in the morning because I was working. But what was amazing was almost everyone stayed till like 1 or 2 at night, drinking, dancing, having fun. I saw AD Mac being held up by Speckles at the bar, which I thought was wonderful. All the WS10 guys were in, the Scraps and War guys were in, the Just Play guys were in, you guys were in, Nathan, you were dancing, it was great. You were in, Dan, you were smashing, you were having a good time. I know for a fact outside at one point, a couple of wives were in, doing some dancing, and the bar manager, who's a very close personal friend of mine, I've known him for like 12 years, he's a wonderful man. He's helped the Honest Wargamer by letting us have the studio upstairs, he's a wonderful gent, and he was just like, he was like, these guys, Rob. And then it went outside for a bit, he went, even the women know what's happening. He's like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah. They're pretty cool. However, at the very end of the night, he did say, "Rob, do you happen to know someone called Pirate Pete?" And I was like, oh, no. I do. He was like, he was drunk, and I was like, that's correct.
That's probably a big tick on a lot of names there for being drunk.
But yeah, there were a bunch. But yeah, Pete was out dancing. Loads of guys were out dancing. And
Tell you was in a cage.
Yeah, it was in a cage for a bit. But that was, but in a fun way, not in a bad way.
Sure.
that sounds like a fun night.
Cages, being in a cage is always a fun night.
I big goldfish. But anyway, yeah, I just want to say massive shout out to everyone who came out, because that was really nice, especially when I knew I was in for a really long weekend.
Yeah.
And you guys were out for the whole time as well. And then we had to go up like 4 hours later and do the show again in the morning, which was wicked. And I didn't mind it, but it was just
we lost some good soldiers along the way.
Yeah. And then we get to Sunday morning, where I wake up, I'm very tired, but I'm very excited about the day. We've got 2 great games lined up for us. Everyone's up. Nathan's up. Yeah.
Doing a bit of cleaning. Tom's a good one.
And then so is Chuckle Buddy. But we lost a member along the way, didn't we?
We lost one. They all rolled over and one fell out. As the nursery rhyme tells us.
I mean, at the start of the show on Saturday morning, someone in the Twitch chat was like, hey guys, this is great. You guys seem to be doing a really professional stream, which I really appreciate because I do want to present that kind of professional image. Yeah. Problem is, you are dealing with Warhammer players, and you kind of have to run at the pace of your slowest peg, right?
Yeah, we are as weak as our weakest link.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Wargamers, we like drinking and playing Warhammer. That's a pretty consistent theme, and that's fine.
We don't always love drinking.
I love what they do in Australia that you were telling me. I love where no matter what, you have to turn up the next day. Because number one, if you're using strength schedule, that will affect people's final scores. I loved what I saw seen in the CanCon pack. It's like, if you don't attend day 2,
fuck you.
Yeah, you won't be invited back to future Herald of War events in the future, which I really respect.
And look, some people do say that that's really harsh, and I think that is fair enough, but there are a number of one-day tournaments out there. If you decide to go to a 2-day tournament, that's a commitment. And it's not just a commitment when things are going well, it's a commitment when things are going bad. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was saying going to a tournament with the attitude to win, or going with the tournament with the attitude to just compete and have fun.
Yeah. And also,
you look so guilty. Look at how guilty. It's like, oh no, I done fucking now.
The dog just hit the camera, and that's fine.
What were you saying? You wanted a professional?
Yeah. I kind of think the Del Boy version of what the Honest Wargamer sometimes is makes me smile, and I prefer it this way. So we lost Scrivo. Yeah, we lost him. But also, you said that one of the things, turn up in the morning and just saying, "Look, I'm hammered. The game is yours," and then lying down and having a sleep underneath the gaming table is the correct way to go.
But there's a step before that, which is taking your army out of the case so that you can use the foam as a pillow. And just be like, I concede the game is yours,
but I'm here.
But I have shown up.
And you still get, so then you still get a score score from that player? Spore?
You've been saying spore all day to me, so that's probably
a sports score from the player, and the player's opponents still get to, still have numbers against their name. So, it's fair enough if it only affected you, but it doesn't. It affects the whole tournament, really.
Yeah, it does.
Especially if the tournament is like a strength schedule or something like that. Fucks up all of your other opponents. So that's why it's such a big deal. I mean, if it was just
I've only done it the one time.
Yeah, sure.
I've only done the one. Oh, no, that's not true. I did the one time when my teeth broke at the beginning of the year. I had to go, but I was in hospital that night.
That's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
No,
it's okay.
A proper dwarf player would still be there.
No, but there's I know for a fact that often in Australia we fly for tournaments, and because you'll finish work on the Friday, you'll fly out the Friday night to try and get there for sleep night Saturday morning. I know a lot of times it happened to me at Masters last year. My flights got cancelled. I was stuck at the airport till 2 a.m. I got home, got 2 hours sleep, then went back and got on the first flight down. And so, but I still showed up, and I apologize profusely to my opponents. Because I was, but it wasn't great because I was standing there at the table just like, and he's gonna, and I remember one of the guys I played, I was like, he was Scryer and his units were tunneling up, and I was like, okay, can we have a deal? You promise not to cheat, because I'm going to go lie down on that couch while you pop everything up. But yeah, you still kind of you drag yourself through for the next day because other people that you don't want to negatively affect their experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's talking about the players. However, being part of the stream team Yeah.
Well, that's no problem. Take the day off.
Take the day off, which is what old Scrivo decided to do. He decided to have a lie-in because we'd had a tough couple of days.
I don't think it was very comfortable lying, judging by the concentrated evil that you had to clean up.
Yeah, exactly. However, if you do go onto the honest-wargamer website, or in fact, if you look at the overlay you're currently seeing on screen, all that stuff is produced by Mr. John Scrivens, who has a website. You can go on and get yourself some commission artwork because he knocked out loads of the overlays from the weekend were excellent, everything like that, and that was all thanks to John. Yeah. John's banked so many brownie points for honest-wargamer, and lots of the stuff that you guys see have been thanks to people like Nathan or John. All of you could have not turned up the next day, and I'd just been like, sweet, this isn't a problem. You guys are amazing. Yeah, so don't worry about it, John, ever, because you're an angel. Although, that said, we're going to rip the fuck out of you for at least 30 days.
No, you've got at least a month of penance. But, the artwork on the website and everything like that, and all the different allegiances is spectacular.
It's cool, right? And also, everyone at Chrimbobo got a free piece of artwork from us.
That's the first chance I've had to actually go through a lot of his art and just see all of it, and it's remarkable. It's really cool. So if you are looking for stuff like that for your army or whatnot, hit him up because legit. I mean,
pro stuff.
As much as I hate to throw credit to anything that's not Dispossessed, that Scryer is just wicked.
Oh, what the Scryer rat one?
That's my favorite.
That might be my favorite, actually. Yeah.
Actually, I also really do like the Deepkin one as well. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were. It was just wonderful. And the website looks so good because of it.
Yeah.
So big shout out.
And from someone with as limited capacity for intelligence as myself, lots of pictures. It's very
Also, if anyone from the weekend happened to get the artwork and they've stuck it somewhere that's cool, on the wall, I'm going to initially start with, nowhere to do with a body part, I'm going to prefix, please send us photos to the honest-wargamer Twitter. We do it publicly, so if it is something that's just bang out of order, Twitter will take it off for us. So either our Facebook page or Twitter, that'd be cool, so it's just nice to see them around. A bit like we talked about, we saw Lofthammer actually send a picture of him in bed, which I really loved, him in bed with his TV up, watching Twitch, watching Nathan do dramatic readings from the Mortal Realms. Did anyone catch the dramatic readings?
They were beautiful.
They were great.
Sure.
So game 4.
Like I said, too much shit on the internet.
Not enough dramatic readings.
There's too many websites.
Too many dramatic readings.
I loved it. There were a few people who posted up their viewing parties. They were just this is how we're watching it. There was one, I think, where there was an entire goddamn case of war dollies just beside the screen, which I was that's a good cave.
Do you know what I mean?
A solid hobby cave.
Yeah, it was excellent. I like that a lot. Oh yeah, with their kids watching. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, so if ever you guys are watching at any point, and even now, just send us your viewing party pictures.
Again, tasteful viewing
party
pictures.
Just tweet them out or Facebook post them or whatever, and then we can share them around and this is cool.
I don't mind if they're not tasteful.
Send them to Nathan if they're not tasteful.
Post them on. There's a private folder.
Right, so then into crunch time. Yeah, we're a man down.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's not stopping us. Nathan also, I want to prefix this as well, because while John didn't make it, I remember Dan saying to me at about 1 o'clock, Dan said to me, hey Rob, tomorrow, not 100% sure Nathan is going to be au fait, because he's drunk a lot. And I said, you have no concept what that man can do. Right?
Well, that was the thing. I was like, he's either going to be alive and at 100%, or just we're never going to see him again. This goes one of two ways.
And how I knew Nathan wasn't interested in doing any commentary the next day is he was in a jumper, and he was just I'm off. I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and I'm pressing this ear button, probably.
All of these buttons.
Man. Pinball that brought you guys along from when you left the venue on Saturday night. It was like you guys just went dung, 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 along every bar you could find.
So we got there in the morning. So we got there in the morning. Nathan went over to do the info from the table and be our top judge. Well done, Nathan. Yeah, which I think is quite nice, having someone with that level of knowledge in the game and go, look, I'm helping, and being an impartial third party member. Yeah, I really like that. For us anyway. And then we just jumped between the desk and the commentator, which was fine. And Scribo eventually
and every button that was required.
Yeah, Chris Rosser learned very quickly that you can't type onto the machine, otherwise you just randomly flip the scenes.
We'd be sitting there commentating, and then the camera would just change.
And while it made us look unprofessional, I was like, Chris, you're trying to help, but please fuck off. Like,
I feel like we did okay. Like, we were like, oh yeah, and now here you can see the hall where everything is going well. On those tables, I believe we are seeing Scryer and Deepkin paying no attention to the man behind the curtain.
But when we did get there, and something that we did miss, which I am gutted about, with me having to do all of the setup, the graphics and everything else in the overlay, our stats machine, as you can only describe now, the Matrix himself, had actually done something that has never happened before in the tournament. He did a between-day stat breakdown of where the games were and what the games were going to be, and like with some predictive reasoning on how they were going to go. At that point, his predictions based on the stats were rocking about 64%, which stats-wise is quite cool. Stats people tell me. This is why I need to have a talk with him tomorrow, because he's going to go, stats, a percentage is the number. I'll be like, cool, let me get my pen. So that's going to be, but I personally think that was really cool. And then there were loads of really good things about that you could potentially look at. And there are in fact loads of people quoting the stats. So I'll say again a big shout out to that work being done. And that's really useful. So then we ended up, and he wrote 1,000 words to send to Scribo, for Scribo to then give us in the morning. Scribo though, unable to read one word.
Scribo gave us other things, and they were voluminous and hefty.
So we got to see Richie with his Harvest Moon Wargrove match up against Gary, the eventual winner of the tourney.
Spoilers.
Well, no, I don't think that's a spoiler. I think it's already up now. I think people know. But
with their combat Stormcast, well.
Yeah, with his combat Stormcast.
40 Sequitur, 10 Evocator, Sure Heart.
With Sure Heart, the Incanter.
No Incanter.
Oh, Lord Arcanum. Relictor, and a Harana.
Yeah, so he did say he would rather have had the Venator. No, the Vexilla than the Relictor, because the Relictor's Prayer is still only a 3-up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, whereas the Vexilla is it's only once per game, but it's like
it's guaranteed.
Yeah, and that's his style, is that one turn everything hits, and then it's like that's
cripple
the
your
game.
Opponent in a turn, and then just kind of put him down afterwards.
Yeah, so if you take out the chance, then
though sometimes that turn, even though you expect it to
drags out a bit longer. It never happens. Which didn't happen in either of those two games, really.
Right. So to quickly go to the end and spoil it, like Gary ends up winning. However, like there was an interesting conversation had on the stream, I think, and again one that we've had since. And I think we'd like to touch base on again. So I'm going to give my shout out, and I'm going to give you two whatever you thought of that game. I'm just going to put it out there, and you two give your version of that, and then we'll go that way. So for me, I thought it was an incredible display of knowing your opponent and playing well, and that was all on Richie's part. And this is no disservice to Gary, but I don't. So Richie had the option to go first because he's got 1 drop silver left armor, so he really gets to dictate the flow of the game. In my opinion, he gets to decide how it's going to go. He has to think about what Gary's able to do. Now, Gary's got a foot-based, non-flying charging combat army. And then Richie's list is designed to chaff them up. Well, it's got lots of dryads. And he's got 2 kind of key offensive pieces. Alarion, he's got Durthu. And you're playing the relocation on it. Now, in my opinion, I've had this chat today. I think Richie played an incredible game.
It was one of the tightest games of Warhammer I've seen.
It was excellent. And I thought that was really important. But Relocation Law got a bit of a drubbing on the stream. Now, I, for one, don't have a dog in the race as to whether or not people think it's shit or not shit. For me personally, if you're looking, I don't think you should ever blame the scenario, because it's very much like playing, although it's a controllable factor, but it's very much like saying, I don't think you should be allowed to go use a command ability and say, hey, I'm going to have +6 to charge.
Yeah.
I don't think that's okay. I don't think getting a bunch of 20 seconds back, even if it's on a 5-up, is okay. And I also don't think that being able to just get like 30 reapers back on a point is okay. However, that's the game that we have.
Yeah.
Now, TOs can change that by choosing different missions. Yeah. But I want to say that I think what Richie did as a game and the way he played gave him the option to win through the entire course of the game. Yeah. And from turn 1, absolutely nailed Gary. He basically was like this. Because I went and talked to the table while Gary was away, and he was like, Gary's an all aggro player. He's going to land, and he's going to charge everything in. And the problem is, I did a show with Laurie where he talked about how he likes to use his Silvernet, and something exploded in my mind that I've never thought about. What he does is he has a Lariel, who's a multicaster, near a bunch of wildwoods, and he does all of the spells. He tries to awaken the woods as much as possible and do the mortal wounds. And there's very few ways, really, that Richie can punch through all that armour, which is mortal wounds, Lariel, and also the Durthu, and then losing all of those wounds to the Wildwoods. And he just baited him in. Baited him into the Wildwoods, which was excellent, and then basically wiped the army out.
Yeah, there was, I think, in one turn there was like 8 to 12 wounds, like 6 models killed just by Wildwoods, like by the charge through Wildwoods.
Which Gary didn't even need to do.
Yeah.
Like, and when we have this conversation about this chat, there's no criticisms to either player. It's just the game. I have made, and I'll put this out there, tons of mistakes in tons of Warhammer games. Loads of them. I know for a fact Brain tweets in the chat. I lost the whole game to decided, I was like, my 12 good I can beat up his snakes. Yeah. The answer is, I'm wrong and I'm an idiot. And he was sat there giggling like a baby. Yeah. Like, at one point, he removed a model one, he removed a snake at one point, and then I just piled my fire glaives in, not fire glaives, my Kadai in. I was like, yeah, that spot, even more attacks. And then he was like, then I did all my attacks. He went, so you know that you're near Marathi? I was like, I didn't do that. He went, so did you not want to do that? Being nice. And I was like, Nick, what you've done there is you've removed that so it's in. And he was like, yeah. I was like, well, you played really well and I'm a twat.
And I've gone full potato.
That's my mistake. Yeah. Do your attacks in. So we all make mistakes. And I think Richie called Gary in his head, was like, you're going to charge through here, which is going to be your mistake. And I think that was true.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was how I saw the game initially. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was a really tight game played by both players. Like, I think I might have done things slightly differently to Gary, just where to drop. I think I would have dropped one unit where he did, and maybe another one in a different place, just because...
At the top?
Yeah, mostly because it was very obvious where the thrust of his charge was coming from. And after that drop happened, Richie was able to kind of like dance around it a lot because he knew where those units were. He didn't have to fight on two fronts. And I think that Richie's army would have struggled a lot more to do that.
Because after the Stormcast drop, you know where they are. Right? They can make stupidly long charges because of stupid Gav. But like, you know where they are. But then the mobility from a Lariel, which is a massive scoring because of the scenario, is the win.
Yeah.
And if you can't drop and take out a Lariel, why drop in, I think, is the answer for me. Like, why did he go into the woods with all the sequiturs?
Yeah, and what it also did was it left a lot of safe spaces for Richie to move his models and control the board. And if you know that you're playing the relocation orb, which can dance and bounce around, I think like board control is one of the strongest elements of that game. And I think he gave up a lot of that and got quite lucky. That it didn't come back to bite him harder than it did. It still bit him in the arse. And without that 5-up, it's a different game. That 5-up to get the 20 sequiturs back. But that's, like you said, that's the game we're playing. You need to accept that that's a rule and that is an ability, and you need to plan accordingly.
Absolutely. And so I thought it played really well. And Nate, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably want to watch that game back again then to just get a more top view. Yeah. But from where I was sat, I really enjoyed watching Harvest Moon playing. I think that might be the first time I've seen them play a game. I don't think I've ever played against the Harvest Moon, and I was impressed. They look like a good army, and quite a fun army to play actually. So yeah, I'd be in. I'm impressed by Harvest Moon. The Stormcasters pretty much.
They do what Stormcast do.
Yeah, fighting is as fighting does, sort of thing. They're just dudes that go around hitting things with big swords and hammers. So, I mean, that's a much more direct. That's their tasks, go and hit stuff, and then but the Sylvaneth army was dancing around doing stuff. It was quite cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching the Harvest Moon. And that redeploy thing that they've got, that's fantastic.
Cool. Especially against that army to zone them out. And be like, cool, I'm going to redeploy and just leave you bugger all space to drop down. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think, I'd like to touch on the discussion about the mission itself and things like that. I think maybe where there was a little slip up on Richie's part, and I don't know, I need to go back and watch it to see, because I know we played that today.
Yeah.
And I know what I've learnt from playing some really talented gamers in Australia is that when they're playing the relocation org, they're thinking 2 bounces a turn. They're thinking, okay, so the 50-50 bounces, it either goes here or here. How do I make sure I've got units to capture, or at least to delay my opponent wherever it goes? And then they're thinking about the 50-50 split if it's a 1 or a 6 from there. So they're effectively they do that quick look where they go, okay, it could end up in any one of these, most likely it ends up in one of these 50-50, or it ends up in one of these 4 beyond that. How do I make sure I've got stuff to put pressure there? And where it bounced to in that last turn, where those Sequitors ended up redeploying on top of, I think, I can't remember, but I feel like it was maybe left open, or it wasn't left with a unit close enough to push the Sequitors back off it. And I think that is the trick about that one. As much as people might want to say that it's random and it does all this, and so it adds a huge element of luck to it, there's also a really big element of having to not only, what Richie did spectacularly and better than I've seen done in a long time, was play your opponent. You also need to plan against the mission in a really broad sense.
Yeah.
And I think maybe there, if a unit of Dryads or a character had pushed up closer to that 50-50 bounce, just to push out a possible redeploy, that possibly could have kept them outside of scoring. But I need to go back and have a watch of it to have a look at that.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing was the way that the Sylvaneth army works is it has to take that first turn, which is a bit of a disadvantage in a way because of the scoring on that, which I really like the scoring on that, where you score heavier in the second half. But I think throughout that game, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, whoever won the turn roll took that turn, just because they had stuff that was in their face that they had to deal with. So
I love say the chat.
Whereas in that scenario, I think you've always got to try and play into a position where you can give the turn.
That's what we did.
Yeah. So when we played it today, whoever won the turn gave the turn.
And that was because at each of our turns, we'd be like, okay, so it can bounce here or here, and on a 1 or a 6 you can go there. And we were looking at, we were going all a beautiful mind and spreading deep to try and cover all of those different bounces. And then,
and then you're always given the turn. I mean, also the endless spells promote that, but still.
That makes it tough.
But for that scenario, I think.
But I think to be fair to Richie and Gary, if the bouncer if the goal had gone any other way, it was just immediately Richie's game. Without it having to come to anything. So number one, I think everything that could have gone wrong for Richie went wrong.
Definitely.
When it comes to luck. He made he made one mistake. Which was not screening that objective right at the end. In my opinion.
Yeah, there were a couple of mistakes I think both players made, but Richie's one's definitely.
No, but I think, so start that game off. I think, I don't know who's in the driving seat. I think in combat, Stormcaster in the driving seat.
Yeah, if it was a flat battlefield, definitely the Stormcast. If it was just let's line our armies up against each other and go toe to toe, the Stormcast probably win that fight. But in that scenario, I think the Sylvaneth have the edge.
Yeah.
Because they have the board control.
But
then Richie, after the first turn, he stepped back and just said, "Oh, I can see 2 mistakes that I made just with the redeployment that he'd done." So, but I mean, I didn't see them because I don't know his army as well as he does. But the players were making mistakes, and yeah,
he also got really unlucky. I think it was in his second turn, maybe his third turn. He teleported 2 units of Dryads and then rolled a 1 for both.
Yeah, both on both.
And that, and like an army, if you want to talk about his army was all mobility, and he was absolutely like, you know, when you see a driver in a race car squeeze every last ounce that they can out of a vehicle before it limps across the line. He was truly squeezing everything he could get out of that Harvest Spoon army, and then they just failed him. That was the machine falling down on him. And like, yes, that's going to happen, but the odds of it happening to both units.
And that's why the mission itself, I think the mission itself is a list building mission where in that situation, Richie's got the advantage in that incredibly mobile, survivable unit, which is obviously Lariel, who's also a caster. So I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
And he protected her and then used her, which was great. But luck, or a dice roll, which is effectively what we're talking about, the scenario moving, is as prevalent in other elements of the game as it is in that part.
Yeah.
That's why I don't overly mind it, but I do mind it when you're discussing armies. I mind it as a mission because unmobile armies, dispossessed, who don't have access to battalions or lots of wizards, are not completely, but have a much tougher time because they can't just run a goblin shaman onto it and be 20 models.
Oh, I didn't have time for that.
But that's my element of the mission that I think is problematic, other than like that. And then right at the end, it came down to a combat between Sequitors and Alariel, which Alariel could have won.
He did roll particularly badly in that combat, actually. I think he missed with a lot of her attacks.
Yeah.
So.
Which is kind of big model syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really use Alariel as like a combat punch against a very reliable unit like Sequitors.
She goes in to be the coup de grace on a unit that has already been put to the point where she should almost easily finish it off.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain if you say to a Silvefe, do you trust an Alariel to do the job of murdering everything in front of her? They'll go, no, that's not been my experience.
Yeah.
It's not their experience.
Not unless you ally in a Lawmaster or something like that. Where you have, there used to be the combat Alariel. This was Alariel with a Lawmaster.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes reliable. Yeah.
What I have to say though, and I don't know, Richie, if you watch this back, your use of the woods brought me so much respect for Sylvaneth. And there's already a small cadre of very talented Sylvaneth players in Australia, but the way that it was like the Pied Piper watching you just work those woods all over those Stormcast, and it bit you in the ass at the end when those woods killed the last Sequitur and let them come back. But just watching the way that you drew the Stormcast in through the woods, you hit it. That
was the bit that got me. It was just massive bait.
But you turned you see Sylvaneth players summoning woods and everything like that, and it almost seems like very often I think the plan is just to cover the board in woods to give them options, but without actually tactically thinking about where and why they're doing it. And that just seems so amazingly well done. And then the way that it was literally, we were talking about on the stream, being like, as far as the rest of the Stormcast force was concerned, they just watched a bunch of their bros run into the dark, murky woods, and then all they heard was screams and flashes of lightning as they were all going straight back up to the heavens. Because they got annihilated the second they stepped into those woods, and that was because of the way that they were played and the way that the army, shield walled and buffed up and delayed to just hold them into that killing zone. And it was awesome.
Which was devastating.
Oh, and it was one of the first times, and I hate to admit this, but I looked at it and I was like, I can see myself doing a Sylvaneth army. And and then I was like, you disgust me. But yeah, it was actually really awesome. Turning the board hostile against your opponent, tactically. It was awesome. I thought it was great.
No, agreed. But then it came down to right at the end. If you guys can watch it back, and I please do. It did come down to the end. So Secretors died, which meant Gary got to roll use his command ability to get a unit on a 5+, put 20 Secretors on in the objective, which got him the points, and then Alariel went in to try and clear him off. Alariel, I think, fluffed it a bit.
No, she didn't make the charge this year, yeah.
She didn't get into the Secretors.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she did. The Secretors then beat her up and murdered her.
She killed, and so she only needed to kill one and then survive.
Yeah.
And I think she killed a couple, but then she didn't survive.
Yeah. Which again, that's the dice part again. Yeah. She could have gone in, wiped them out, or given them a kick in. There was no command points or heroes nearby. I don't think for immune to battle shock.
Bearing in mind that she had. She went in on very low wounds as well.
I think she had 10 wounds left.
But she could have had loads more because she only healed up.
That's
so
true.
she gets 3d3 and then a d6, and she only healed up, I want to say, 5 wounds.
Yeah, she
out of that, which is
really unlucky as well. Yeah. So there were dice, loads of dice involved. For Gary, a 5+, great dice.
Yeah.
A load of 5-ups actually, which ended up causing mortal wounds for Richie. And then there were a load of dice that we didn't keep track of necessarily to a degree, but instead of it being D6 back, it might have been 2, which came to affect it. So the bounce of the objective is not just the only dice roll which really affected the game massively. And I think Richie played well enough that to a degree, that wherever it did go.
Well, you could say it lost it on 2 5-ups. The 5-up that killed the Secretors, the 5-up that brought them back.
So that's why.
There's loads.
And
the
hard argument and the hard counter argument to saying the randomness of the objective is a problem is maybe a static objective would have meant the Stormcast could just focus on that one location, kill everything on, and take control of it.
Well, you do happen to find that in those missions, when someone's just I drop, I've run forward, I've got more models than you. Yeah, I burn all these, I win the game.
Even say shifting objectives, where it's 3 and the one that's worth more points changes every turn. If you play Stormcast against that, well then he just drops, charges onto the objectives, takes 2 out of 3 in a turn, and then holds them for the rest of the game. So in one respect, yes, the bouncing objective, if it had gone into the Sylvaneth lines, it was probably just game over, to be completely honest.
It was just a non-game.
But if Gary had known where that objective was from the start of the game, and it was always there, or he always knew where it was going to move, then he would have dropped very differently, and he could have possibly controlled the game as well. So it's really hard to make the call as to what could have been.
Yeah, I agree. And really interesting, really tight tactical game. I was super pumped. There's a photo actually on our Discord of me and Dan sat at the commentator's desk with looks like 8 to 10 coffees in front of us.
We were just trying to keep up.
I just remember I was just get me more coffee. And eventually John or Chris came over with just 7 coffees. I was 1, 2. Yeah. So because obviously but what I meant was that by that is we were pumped because that game was thrilling, great to watch back, and I was and it was why I've done all this. It's why I have so much drive and passion for what we're doing with the coverage, because covering games like that are exceptional, and it got to show me what the players are like, it got to show me some tactics, it got to show the people at home tactics like that. I was this is exactly why I do coverage from the Honest Wargamer. This is why I want to do it more. Then we got the next game.
Sorry, before we go on to the next game, I just want to say, I don't know about you, but I was exhausted after watching Game 4. Because I felt like my mind had been taken through the ringer of just tense, tight, tactical gameplay. It felt like I could reach out and touch it. And then it was they decided to just go, while they're down.
What I loved was, I came off the back of that game and I was great viewing for people. Yeah. Great viewing. This is going to be fun. The other side of great viewing is what the is happening now.
Yeah.
And in steps my hero.
Oh, the darling of the tournament.
Yeah, the absolute man of the hour. Nathan, what did you think of him? His name can't even be said yet. It's so famous.
It's a hashtag.
It's a hashtag.
He's a fine gentleman. I enjoyed watching that game, actually, a lot.
Yeah, you were there. Hashtag Team Allen.
And it trended.
He's trending right now. Yeah. So same list from Gary. The 2 units of 20 sectors, the evocators, the whole thing. You can see it on the website. And then hashtag Team Alan said that Alan went 4-0, smashing face. He's got Nagash. He's got 3 units of 40 skeleton warriors. He's got 2 necromancers. He's there, and he's just like, I've gone 4-0. I'm here to party. And we're like, cool, Alan, what you got? At this point, because Scrivo's knocking around and we're doing a bunch of other stuff, Nathan's keeping track of the table. We're still probably dancing around trying to get as much glory as we can. Classic Rob and Dan manoeuvres. Then Nathan comes up and what did you say to us, Nathan?
I said, I think you might have lost us in deployment. But then I hadn't had 10 cups of coffee like you guys.
Yeah, we actually were seeing into the future at that point. Time had slowed.
I was like, I reckon this guy's lost it on deployment when I walked up. But that's because I hadn't taken into account that he could actually take first turn. And so he's just deployed like, I'm taking first turn. I'm just going to go over there and take all the objectives and then let him come at me. So then he then moved into his defensive position where, cause at the beginning, I could just see Gary's eyes light up like, is he going to give me first turn? Cause Nagash was just sat on his own at the back of the board.
Completely deep strikeable and chargeable.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he was just standing there, like, you know, with a little, like, thing being like, yeah, just waiting for someone to come.
And I was like...
Also, the store manager for the Nathan store, if you ever want to go and drop him a message.
And then
Thomas said he was going to ring him today.
Then as I sat down,
Send him the work.
and he said, I'll take first turn, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He gets to decide he can go first. Phew. And so he took first turn and obviously ringed Nagash in loads of skellies and then just went and sat on the other objectives with loads of skellies.
But not loads of skellies, 40 skellies.
120 skellies.
No, he didn't ring him in 120.
Oh, no.
He ringed him
in 40 skellies.
Yeah, well, he obviously wanted him to get his stick out and start the party when the shit arrived. And the shit arrived.
The shit arrived.
The shit arrived.
and let's be honest, we called it. We called it pretty much game over when Stormcast won priority into turn 2.
Well, let's not start there. What happened was this. You go back and watch it. But
I think the mistake... I don't think he didn't win priority turn 2. I think Nagash did.
No, because he survived that.
Because he survived...
Because that's why we lost our crowd.
Oh, yeah. That's turn 2.
But also go back and watch it just to listen to the emotional and mental breakdown of 2 human beings.
The roller coaster I was on, I'm still not recovering from. I was there like... and I was like, cool, you know. I was like, that's
it's gone. Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like, so we've had a great first game. It's a shame that the final game is just going to be a turn 1 wonder. But at least I don't have to when I was at Games Workshop, where I have to fill air or time and be like, he could have won it. I'm like, cool, we can just call it. Yeah. Like, look, that's interesting.
I mean, and what we did do was because the two of us were melting, like in our brain, was all of a sudden like Adam, who'd only been around a few tables, we're like, Adam, come here.
Yeah.
Like, you are needed. Step up to the plate because we're about to implode.
Yeah, so you're going to need to do some coverage on the tables, find out what's happening. So off we went and we kind of like turned our mics off. Adam did his thing, did some chatting, and then we turned our mics back on. You've gone to the table, and you went, well, something's happening. And I was like, what's happening?
It was like something magical.
Yeah. So Gav dropped down. An entire combat army went into 1 block of skeleton warriors. I mean, it went into the other 2, but effectively it was like, we'll go into 1 block, we'll wipe them, we'll pile into...
It was basically 20 Sequitors, 10 Evocators, and a couple of characters, and a Griffhound went into 40 skeletons and Nagash.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay, this is game. But then you went, no, Rob, it's not over. And something's happened because he won the turn for priority. No, he didn't.
No, Gary
won the turn for priority.
Stormcast won the turn for priority.
So the skeleton screen is dead. Nagash is unwounded.
No, Nagash was wounded. I think Nagash was down to like 6 or 8 wounds.
Okay, at the start of...
At the top of turn 2, Nagash was down to like 6 or 8 wounds.
Yeah.
And he was still surrounded by like 15 Sequitors.
About 1,000 points of combat storm.
Yeah, so I think he was on maybe 10 wounds, because then the Relictor prayed at him, and I think might have given him a wound. Or maybe no, I think the prayer failed, but then the Judicators pulled out all the arrows, and I think they put 4 wounds on him. So he went into that combat phase with 6 wounds, basically against a whole Stormcast combat army. and I was like, well, that guy's pretty dead.
Yeah. Do you guys remember how many wounds he got down to?
5. No, he lost 1 wound.
No, he got down to 1 wound.
No, he lost 1 wound in that round of combat.
One.
Wow.
He lost 1 wound.
Against a whole Stormcast combat.
And that was when we came back.
Right. Yeah, well, I love he's quoting me because I did say, I was like, if your mates are into 40k or, you know, after the fall and they went to play 9th Age or something and they say, don't play this team, it's got no tactics, it's just a mashup in the middle. This game was not the game to show them. Yeah, I was like, yeah. And so Nagash is nearly dead. However, what's most impressive, he didn't die.
He survived.
He survived an entire round of Stormcast combat. And
here we were thinking, this is the time to cast a few spells and bugger off out behind the 80 surviving skeletons.
And Alan said to me, in the eyes, he looked at me and went, fuck you.
He just went like, you know all that emotional torment I just put you through? And you think you're out of the woods. I'm not done.
Because you came back, he was like, he's alive. And I'm there like spitting coffee. I'm like, what?
And
then,
like,
so we go back to the table.
He's not only alive, he's healing. So he zapped a Gryph-hound and healed a bunch of wounds. And then he got off Soul Harvest.
And did a ton of mortal wounds, right?
But he got it off on a 9. Which means that it went off twice.
Yeah.
And it's a spell that affects everyone within 3 inches. I think
Which is everyone.
Which is everyone.
Which is everyone, because Gary put everyone in.
I think it does D3 mortal wounds to each of those units. So
I'd almost say it's a viable tactic if it wasn't not a tactic.
If it was planned.
Yeah.
If it was planned. And then he's done 2 D3 mortal wounds to just about every unit in the Stormcast army. And then the other thing is on a 5 he heals. But he didn't roll a single 5.
He did not roll any.
So he had like, how many dice? He must have had quite a few.
He must have had at least 10 dice.
I was expecting, when I saw him roll a 9 to cast it, I was expecting the Gash to return on 4 wounds.
Yeah, just like, be there, and Alan just like, you two are idiots.
Yeah.
I planned this.
I thought we were about to be proven wrong and be like, yep, nerfed Legions of Nagash. So Nagash should heal back up to 8 wounds at this point.
Yeah, because he cut back to us, so we're commentating, we go back to the table, and yeah, there's very few Stormcast left.
Yeah, Relictors are dead, the Gryph-hound that had pissed on both Dirthu and Nagash at this point was dead. A bunch of Sequitors and Evocators were gone. There was a very thin golden line, and we were just thinking, like, end of the hero phase, we're like, this, wow.
Yeah.
And then, what happened?
Then the next words I say, Nagash has decided to stay and fight.
The roller coaster that we're on.
End of the movement phase. We hear that.
and he's rolling the dice. And then I just see him look at me, and the look in his eyes is, I shouldn't be doing this. But he did it. And there you go.
Yeah.
He did say, which I think is great of him, he did say, and I want to say a big shout out to Gary for this, he did say, I got into the shooting phase, and I did my shot, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I won't do my shooting. Like, oh no, like, he got to the he said shooting phase, hadn't actually rolled anything, and said, do you know what, I don't know if Gary was involved in this, because you were there, maybe you can quote me, but he said to me after, he said, I got to the shooting phase, I didn't roll anything, and I thought, do you know what, I should take this back, and I thought, no, I've said shooting phase now, so I'm going to roll my dice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, I've committed to it, I'm going to do the thing. Yeah, and I'm almost certain Gary would have been like, if he'd have been like...
Yeah, if he had said...
If he'd have said, he'd have let him take it and just go, don't worry about it, you haven't rolled the dice, so it's fine. Yeah. But he did his shot, and then stayed in combat, which this time he did not survive.
Proved to be his undoing.
No. But the game wasn't over.
And this is the thing, we were like, well, Nagash is gone, game's over. But Alan said...
No. Again, very tired at this point and on not enough coffee. Dan said to me about 8 times, Rob, he's going to keep getting models back from the grave sites. And I was like, it's all over, Dan, it's not happening. And then I was like, wait, the skeletons are coming back, because it just dawned on me, because I was like 9 hours behind everyone else.
Meanwhile, myself in the chat are just like being like, yeah!
Yeah, everyone was like, Alan's in it!
You were surrounded by 120 people and myself saying, grave sites. Rob, grave sites.
So then I got excited because I wanted Alan to win at this stage because I'm like, you're a mad bastard pissing in the wind. Yeah, you don't care about anything. So then he gets loads of skeletons back, and I'm like, oh my god, charred. Like, so he's locked in combat with the unit, and they're nearly dead. And then I think he's going to fight. And then what he does is retreat.
Or I was like, he's going to bring them back and string them out because there's only one model holding the central objective. So I'm like, he's going to tag out. He's going to take like half or like 3/4 of the objectives on the board. This man's a mad genius. He needed Nagash to die to give him a gap. And then that didn't happen.
Yeah, he was too stuck to the movement trays, I think, really. I think once you get models like that into a fight, you've just got to get rid of the movement trays, and then it just gives you that flexibility, string out lines, closing around, all of that sort of
stuff. So it wasn't resurrecting the grave sites, it was healing the grave sites because they're summonable, and because obviously the necromancers that are still alive, they have their rule that lets them do that. That's what was occurring. So he didn't I mean, again, talking about positioning in the first very turn, if he'd have left a gravesite anywhere where those 40 skeleton warriors could have been back,
Nagash would have done that.
He's just won the game. Yeah, he would have. Yeah, but he wasn't into that as a move, which I respect, Alan.
Yeah,
Alan's there like, I'm not putting 40 skeleton warriors back. Once they're dead, they're in the grave.
Yep. No, don't believe it. No,
yeah, fuck those guys.
But the thing was, and then that happened. And we were like, oh, and then for some reason. That like the undead, they just kept dragging along, and we went right out into the last turn, and he was still in it until then.
Yeah, he had a mad scramble at the end. Kept pushing, but it just wasn't enough from that point. He was behind. So,
it was. But
it was a roller coaster.
What I really enjoyed though was how Gary and it's quite famous, and big shout out for Gary for winning the event. It's quite famous that Gary's always 4-1 or 5-1 at an event. But never the winner.
Yeah,
that's integral. And what was kind of in the back of my head as a story, I was like, you are close, my friend. You're at that thing that you've been hunting for maybe 2 years. And you're like there. Yeah, you're very involved in the game. You're super excited about Warhammer generally, which is great. You're so close. And then the guest is live, and I'm like, no, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him.
Just let him have this one.
But then I was also like, also do it to him.
Also, I want to see your pain.
I want this to be on film too. I want this to be just the game you like, because the last game, it's a bit fair to say that 5-up was very lucky. And then I was like, this is...
And it would have been hilarious to see it go the other way. Like 40 skeleton warriors come back up
after,
and be like, I heard you like returning units for free.
Especially after the kicking Alan was getting in the chat.
Yeah.
Like, he was getting a kick in the chat. But also like a friendly rub-in, because it's Warhammer and it's all love.
But you know what I also love? Is how the chat was willing to turn around like a shopping trolley on a coin and just go back the other way. So it'd be like, what are you doing? And then it'd be like, Team Alan! Let's go, Alan! Fuck Stormcast! So I love it.
And also, Alan, you've got to say, if you're a man who can make other people be in love with Nagash, never before has Nagash been the hero in the story of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
He was the underdog.
No, he was the underdog. He was fighting back like Rocky. He was like, I'm on the road. Hold on. It was, oh wow. Yeah, I've never seen that amount of people cheering Nagash on. But then Gary won the event, won the game, won the event.
Done.
So, congratulations, Gary. Second was James.
With the Deacon that we saw on
day 1.
Yeah, putting the fires of those Asgore fellas out.
Yep.
Yeah, Darling of the Deep, as he's now known for me. And then in third place was... This is why we're such a pro commentary team.
Just Phil, I'll find out.
Well, on the third day, in third place, and most interestingly, because he's one of my favourite people in all of Warhammer, and I want to fill this up as much as I can. He is comfortably one of the best dressed people in his own house, and other people. Chris Moore, is who it is, who played Legions of Nagash.
I think he had Arcan the Black, didn't he? He was Cursing of Years.
Oh yeah, he cursed the years off all sorts of units. Yeah.
Cursed of Years off a unit of 60 grots.
Yep.
Which is quite a lot of wins, 60 wins. That's pretty impressive.
That's like what, 50 points?
Yeah, probably.
And then Sylvaneth, Richie from Game 4 came third. Then you had Steve Curtis, who came 5th. You can see his guide on the honest-wargamer.com, which is cool. It releases big cash. And yeah, that was the event really. Best sports was Eddie Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only met him briefly, but I'd say fair. He seemed a legend.
Yeah. Lovely gentleman. Lovely gentleman.
Old
as balls though, but just an angel. Yeah.
Really old balls.
Yeah. It's not the same.
Probably the balls he's got. Yeah, he's probably about the same age as his balls.
The last thing I need to do is spend my last day here picturing people's balls.
But also
old people's balls.
And he's also stole Laurie Huggett-Wiggett's favourite sports photo. And big shout out to proving possibly that as much as his narrative Sylvaneth Winterleaf with a Frost Phoenix list is, maybe it's not great fun to play. Big thing about AD Mac actually winning best sports is he was using a Nurgle army with negative debuffs to hit, which traditionally anything that like makes your opponent not be able to do things or debuffs like stuff. Debuff lists generally don't get favourite sports votes, so that's another testament to how much of a babe he is to play.
Well, I mean, and it does make sense. Like, if someone runs an army that lets you not play the game as much, you know, or in the way that you build an army to play it, it's understandable that people are like, oh man,
I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not as much fun. Like it's like if you play a control thing, like it's not as much fun. No. But obviously, he's just like such a good bloke.
Yeah, he's a great bloke.
Counteracts the use of a debuff.
He also won Best Painted.
Yeah, fair.
That's cool. And in last place, but by no means least place, Tuggy himself got the wooden spoon.
Got a little doggy.
He got a little doggy.
He got the little robo dog.
Yeah, little robo dog. So that was awesome. So generally great event.
Wicked.
Yeah. Yeah, another
Did you guys enjoy it?
I went through all the colours of the emotional rainbow. And I slept real soundly last night.
Oh, yeah.
You emotionally invest as a commentator, right? I think that's the only way you can do it well.
Oh, yeah. But that was it. And the thing that's hard is you constantly invest in both sides. And that was the worst thing is I regularly found myself investing in the Chaos Dwarves. Well, not investing, but like looking at it and going like, how do they fight back? How can they still win this? And then I'd be like, you disgust me.
Such a war inside your own heart.
The gamer in me, the competitive player in me is going like,
if they were proper dwarves, I'd
I'd be going like, oh, maybe if he wins priority and if he pushes here and does this and clears off these 2 units, and I'd be like, no.
But that's not going to happen.
What have you become?
Sometimes it's also really hard as a commentator as well when you know people. Like if you see someone make a mistake, you got to call it. And I'm going to be comfortable and confident enough to say to the whole ACMR community and the 40K community when I get around to it, I'm like, fuckers, if you fuck up, I'm saying, I will say, but at the same time, I'm so on your side, because I want you to, I am going to be round of applause in every time you do something heroic and smart, Again, let's talk about Joe all the way from the South Coast GT, which was funny because we talked about it live on air. Yeah. We talked about the fact that
I remember watching that game.
Yeah. You were saying that when you watched it,
and was listening to the commentary and watching. I mean, first of all, 27 Skyfires,
so mediocre.
Yeah, basic. But I remember watching that and listening to the commentary and agreeing and being like, he's got this. He's got but as game. If you'd be dumb enough to do that. Obviously if you've gotten here and you've taken this list, you know what you're doing. There's no way you go up the middle. And then the tape measure came out. And I remember thinking why
is he measuring that?
But then imagine being me.
Yeah.
He's my close personal friend. Yeah. I'm there hiding behind a battle tome. Screaming, I'm not even watching it at home. I'm just he's made a mistake there. That's terrible.
You literally could reach out and just touch.
Yeah, and just be
fix it.
Yeah, just don't do that. Yeah, it's tough, but it's also I'm just that was great. But awful at the same time. It's I hate horror movies. Yeah. I hate horror movies.
Love watching them though?
No, not at all.
Oh, really?
You know how some people I like that experience? Hate them. My girlfriend found this out. Her favourite thing to do now, she's like, horror movie. Whenever she gets to pick, she's like, horror movie. And I sit there like, oh. We watched this series, House on the Haunted Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Worst week of my life. Yeah? I had like an hour an evening where I wasn't working. I was just tense. I was just like, oh, like my muscles ached. That's what doing commentary for Games of Warhammer is like, in the best way, but also the worst way. Yeah, it was great. Really fun.
Holy fuck, I've got cramp galore.
You got cramp, Nate?
Oh.
You should walk it off. That's it, just walk it off.
I'm a little concerned about what I'm seeing coming up on Twitter.
Have you accidentally has the Twitch chat got you?
Yeah. It's not good.
Right, so there isn't much else to say. I hope you guys are enjoying the website because it's brilliant. I'm going to get back to start reading some of those lists soon and start sharing them out. What's cool is, and some of you guys may not know, but you can become a featured rundown. So I'm going to be doing those in the future. If anyone gets the opportunity, please read the Magma Dragon list.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, it's not the most tactically insightful list that you're ever going to read.
Well, it is the most excited.
Yes. From the mind of an insane Swedish wizard is the 3 Magma Dragon list. Is it good? That guide won't tell you. Is it how to play it? That guide won't tell you. What it will tell you,
he's enthusiastic for Warhammer.
Yeah, and then you should buy some Magma Dragons. I reckon he's got stock in Magma Dragons.
He is the Magma Dragon supplier.
Yeah.
In all of Northern Europe.
Yeah.
If any, I think the original Magma Dragon was sculpted on commission at every sale
by a Swedish guy.
If you want to read it, it's nothing but thrills.
And you will go out and you'll buy a Magma Dragon afterwards as well.
Yeah, let's go. To quote him, holy bananas.
Holy bananas.
And when I set up the website, we thought we'd get lists like you guys have done, and I've done, and Steve and Laurie, and Darren and Ben Sava, and all these great games from all around the world, and you just be like, amazing! We're going to get some really top lists. Chris Welfare, a bunch of people from all around the world are going to write these lists and give guides so everyone can learn. And I've had people go, I've read some guides and I'm redesigning my army list because turns out I don't know fuck all about Warhammer. And I'm like, that's great. That's good that you've got that insight before you've bought a model or before you've got into the game. That's exactly what I want. And then in comes Linus. Yeah? Linus is just like, I don't care why you set this up. Have you heard about 3 Magma Dragons? Holy bananas.
To be fair, Magma Dragons are nothing to be sniffed at.
No, they are great. And there is a 3 Magma Dragon list that ran around at the London GT, I think, and finished like in the top 10 or something like that. So yeah, it's a proper list. That is scary as fuck.
It seems Tomlet's already read them because he knows the spell section for how to improve Magma Dragons is. If you know any spells that make them better, use
cast
them.
those.
Which is a solid tactical.
It is. I mean, it's good. That's what I do with my dwarves. I know that there are some things that make them better, and so I use those.
Yeah.
Also, final point. Pete says that his missus says that Chuckabutty and Speckles are the best looking from the stream team.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy bananas. So someone's just read it and gone, I'm laughing now. Holy bananas. So I want to say a massive thank you to you, Dan,
for
traveling across the globe. I think we've become firm friends, and I'm really excited about CanCon. And I'm pretty certain in the next few weeks you're going to see something very special come out of Dan and me and the whole Honest Wargamer.
Having a child.
Yeah.
Very short gestation period, though.
Yeah. Nice. I'm going to back away slowly.
Nathan, thanks for doing the comments this weekend. You were amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited about getting to make you have to use a website.
I use one already.
No, a different one.
Not just Google.
That's not the one he needs.
Didn't want to go into it.
Let's not. Yeah. I'm really excited, and thank you to Adam once again.
Yeah.
Going and winning the hearts and minds of the crew.
Great.
Thank you to Scrivo for Saturday.
Yeah.
And for a month of fun.
Thank you to LLV for the stats.
Sure.
He's fully part of the crew. Thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon and on Twitch. You guys built the website. You guys paid for the workbook. You guys paid for the coverage this weekend. So everyone is enjoying that because of you. And then thank you to you guys, thank you to podcast listeners and whatnot.
John and Johnny for that weekend was crazy good.
I'm really excited. We're going to be covering Sheffield Slaughter, which I'm super excited about. Yeah, that's going to be great. We're going to be covering the next Bobo. We're covering Blood Tide. We're covering Six Nations. We're covering CanCon.
Yeah. How many countries next year?
I think we might be doing 5 countries next year. Which is pretty cool. And everyone on Patreon and Twitch is paying for that. So thank you. You guys are doing that. And lastly, no, that's great. That's good. I think that's everyone.
Never ends. There's no lasting.
Yeah.
Also, Tom for building the website as well.
Yeah.
We got to interview him on the weekend. That was really cool.
I've heard it's really good.
We're also doing 40k. We're doing the LCO.
No, I've seen it. It's great.
Yeah. Yes.
Once or twice.
Somebody showed me it once. I saw it when I walked past the computer once.
So thank you to everyone and then everybody came out on Saturday night because realistically, all of you who are listening now, watching back and listening to podcasts, you guys are part of the honest-wargamer crew. I think we're building something pretty great together. Yeah. Like a big international community that's gonna, especially for Age Sigmar, this big international community that are just gonna really have competitive games but fun. Because really, we're all team out.
Oh yeah.
So thank you from me. You guys can say your own thank yous. Any shout outs you want to do before we end?
Thanks for having me. And that's not only to you guys, but also to everyone who's just been friendly and supportive in the chat. It's been awesome fun, and I can't wait to do it again soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Fuck you all.